and one person alone, the most important person on the team.
I thought you were about to say some 49ers super fan.
No, Brock Purdy. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. So glad to have you on this Wednesday. It hurts Purdy. And, you know, it's funny, Pearl, because we've been hearing some things out of San Francisco about Purdy. Oh, he's been up and down in training camp. Obviously didn't have a great preseason game. But we're going to say none of that matters because it's just preseason and we've seen Brock Purdy deliver on some of the biggest stages. But you got to think that not having your left tackle out there and Trent Williams, who's holding out, you just lost another offensive lineman in John Feliciano, the veteran, who Kyle Shanahan won't even tell us what he's getting surgery on and being totally cagey. Then you have Brandon Ayuk, who is Purdy's most, I wouldn't say favorite, one of his most reliable targets. Just look at the third down numbers and how much Brandon Ayuk was keeping drives alive for the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey's hobbling. George Kittle had off-season surgery where he lost 30 pounds. Thankfully, he's back in the mix. But all of this stuff, to me, all it does is really hurt one person and kind of stymies a bit one person, and that's Purdy. And Purdy is the most important person on the offense. I know I may poke holes in is McCaffrey really the MVP of the team, or is it Brock Purdy? And we talked about that, but Purdy's the most important person. He's the one who makes it go. And all of this offseason turmoil only comes back on him and hurts him as he's trying to get ready for his third season in the NFL.
Well, it might hurt him short term, but long term, like, what is this about? Is this about week one against the Jets, or is this about building a great team? Because they're not doing anything that's not in their long term best interest. Like, they're not going back and forth with Brandon Ayuk just for the fun of it. No, they're trying to build an awesome team. It's not fun
at all.
They're trying to build an awesome team. And Trent Williams, listen, this happens. I think everything they're doing, we're kind of like piling on the Niners. Like, what is the individual mistake? Honestly, apparently, Josita Anderson hinted that they offered more than the Steelers for Ayuk. Like, I think they're right where the rest of the league is on Ayuk. Are they really screwing this up? Don't you want to, we keep on killing them for all these moves. Aren't they doing the best thing long term? They're trying to build a 10-year program here with Brock Purdy. And you mentioned John Feliciano got hurt. This guy that filled in has been dominating my social field. Dominic Puni's this left guard. He was a tackle that is apparently just untouchable.
But still a rookie.
I don't know. It feels like the Niners got this crazy out of nowhere rookie class again. We forget that they were smart enough to get all these guys in the first place. Why aren't we giving them credit that they can do smart things out? They built the most talented team in the league, John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Maybe we should give them more of the benefit of the doubt. Like, they can find a new. We saw this kid, Jacob Cowan, came out. Was unbelievable in the preseason game. It's like, where does that dude come from? I'd never barely heard of him.
Another rookie. Ricky Pearsall, the other rookie, has been hurt. So here's the thing about that, right? You have all these players who are making all this money for the 49ers, and you haven't even paid Purdy yet. So I think there's kind of two schools of thought here. When we talk about these windows, it's like your window's kind of now before. I think there's always an inevitable, doesn't have to necessarily be a rebuild, but there's always going to be an inevitable, like the Bills do. You hear this a lot with GMs and stuff. Like, eventually the credit card bill is going to be due. You can only punt things so far into the future. Bill Belichick was just talking about this on Pat McAfee's show. And he specifically cited the 49ers along with the Saints and your Philadelphia Eagles as three teams where at some point you do have to reset a little bit. So I do think there's a bit of urgency. Sure, you got to hit on these rookies and you got to make sure you have young guys contributing. But if you're asking me why is there an urgency? I think because of these sort of windows. And with this particular expensive team, this is the time to get it done, right? And so injuries.
Why though?
Because you've invested all this into a team and you haven't won a Super Bowl yet. You got damn close, but you haven't won.
Well, why do you do not think this window can last 10 years? I mean, Belichick's lasted 20 years. The Chiefs seem to be on a 15-year run. I think the Niners are not thinking like you're thinking, oh, this is it. Everyone keeps saying this is an all. And I know Trent Williams is getting old and Christian McCaffrey's getting old, but man, they seem to be finding players left and right. And Christian McCaffrey is a running back. I'm not sure that is the most irreplaceable thing. They seem to be saying, okay, we like you, Brandon Ayuk. We don't love you. We're not going to maybe it's smart to not give away all this money to Brandon Ayuk and sort of play hardball.
No, but here's the thing. You're telling me that they might be right at the number. So, like, that's the thing. If you really were playing hardball and you thought you were going to get, like, a quote-unquote deal or something, or you were going to try to do something really short-term to, but it doesn't look like – it looks like they're going to end up around what Ayuk wants. So, what was this all about?
They're definitely – I mean, I think it seems like they offered him 29. He's like, I'm holding out for more. So, I don't think – obviously, everything the Niners have told you is like, we don't really care if Brandon Ayuk's here long-term or not. They don't see that as a billing – so they were willing to trade him to Pittsburgh. By the way, they still could trade him. We don't know for sure. They obviously were willing to trade him. Like it doesn't seem like they know Brandon Ayuk better than we do. They know their team building better than we do. It doesn't seem like he's priority number one. So I don't know. I feel like you're kind of putting a negative read on everything they do team building when they just seem to draft really well. I mean, where the heck did Brock Purdy come from? We're talking about Brock Purdy. He was Mr. Irrelevant. So why not give them the benefit of the doubt that they know what they're doing and all these things? The only thing that is irreversible is getting old. Like Trent Williams is getting old. McCaffrey's getting a little old. Kittle's getting old. That stuff is true. But I'm not sure I agree that this is like an all-in, one-or-done year. Like, we say that, but like, do you really, if you're looking at next year's Super Bowl prediction, 2025, it's like, ooh, the Niners are loaded.
Right.
Ooh, 2026, the Niners are loaded. They're going to be loaded, regardless of some, I would say, rather, not trivial things, but like this seems like short-term stuff that they're working with. It could all go fine. Who knows? Trent Williams, say he comes back, say Ayuk comes back, like, what's the problem?
Well, I've asked.
If Feliciano barely made the team.
But I guess I would ask the question, what's it all for? Because I'm watching. And again, it
sustained excellence.
No. Like, what was all the holdout? Like, why couldn't they get something done sooner? If Ayuk's going to be back and if Trent Williams is going to be back and all of that, again, I'm telling you that the only person who really gets hurt by them not being there is Purdy, because Purdy would have had another year. If Ayuk's going to be there anyway, this is another year to get on the same page. He's not being able to get on the same page with Pearsall. Kittle and McCaffrey, these guys aren't going to be practicing. Debo, these guys aren't going to be practicing that much in the preseason. Purdy's the guy who looks like he still needs more developing, seasoning. Everyone does.
Purdy doesn't need more reps with those guys. They've had basically 2 seasons.
All right. How's it look so far?
Well, he went out there without any other starters, so we don't even know what was going on. Yeah, I mean, there's a legit chance that they have injury problems. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
But it's not like the lack of work in preseason is an issue here. Is it? Is that what you're worried about? It's a lack of work? Like Purdy he's a rookie?
Listen, I don't know what to make of all the up and down with Purdy. It might be nothing. It might be absolutely nothing, but I keep hearing about it. And I don't think it's the media like overreacting in San Francisco. They know what they have. I
feel like the San Francisco media is not as worried as the national media. Like San Francisco media is kind of, it feels like they look at this is 2019.
Yeah.
Like they completely kind of rebuilt that team that made the Super Bowl, was bleeding in the Super Bowl in the fourth quarter. I think they have a little more faith in this team than I'm here.
This is the same team outside of the quarterback.
Really?
And McCaffrey.
Who was he throwing to in that Super Bowl? I felt like
Debo,
it was Emmanuel
Kittle.
Sanders, and I don't know. It's not the same team at all. It's very different.
But here's the thing. Here's some of the core people who are still in the same spot: Debo, Kittle.
They brought in
Bosa,
a lot of great players.
Fred Warner. To me, Trent Williams. It's the same core. And I guess where you and I will ultimately always disagree on this is what's the urgency for the 49ers this year? Like, you don't think there's any. I think
there's urgency every year when you're a Super Bowl contender, but no, I don't think this is an all-in year like Jerry Jones described. It's not like the Rams with F them picks. Like,
right.
No, I don't think they view that at all, not even for a second.
You don't think there's like a human toll of losing in the overtime in the Super Bowl and sort of what that does to a team and how that impacts how you come back the next year and the amount of pressure that's on that? Like, I think you're discounting like the human element of this.
Well, maybe for part of this year, but I'm saying like long term. No, this is not a 1 year like project. They're looking big picture. They're definitely not. I mean, they sort of how they seem to build the team. Like, no, like my argument here is like it's not a 1 year thing. Like they're not all in for this year. Like there's no. Or it's better to have Brandon Ayuk long term flexibility than to sell out just for this season. Like there's no vibe for me there. Like. Why are they going to be contender with Brock Purdy? They're going to pay him $60 million or something, right?
Yeah.
They should expect to be in the NFC Championship game for the next 10 years.
Okay, but what happens after you pay your quarterback? Does it get easier or does it get harder? Like as team building, what we've always been told, and we see this in real time, cuts have to be made. Guys, can't be retained who you want to retain. We always talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. They've had to say goodbye to people. Now they continue to win, so good for them. but they did say goodbye to Tyreek Hill because they couldn't pay him or didn't want to. They have said goodbye to L'Jarius Sneed, who I'm sure they would have loved to have back because you have to pay a QB.
Yeah, they're still awesome.
They're still awesome, but Mahomes kind of is the great equalizer. Not everyone is so blessed to have Mahomes and Andy Reid and to feel great about that. I think that we're discounting, like, this is the last cheap year of Purdy. And then you get him, and you have all these other guys who are making a lot of money, and then you have to somehow shoehorn a $60 million quarterback. To me, it just gets harder. And I think if John Lynch was sitting right here with us, I think he would admit the same.
It definitely gets harder, but I still think I would bet on Shanahan and Purdy moving forward. It reminds me so much of Andy Reid and Donovan McNabb. Like, Andy Reid made his first NFC title game in 2001, and then through 2008, they had like an 8-year run in Philly, and now he's in a 10-year run in Kansas City. I mean, he's an incredible run. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really good drafting team and a really smart team, and I think probably what they're doing with Ayuk, I think all of us would do. Like, did you watch Hard Knocks last night?
I did.
Did you see where Ryan Poles is like, I'm not going to lose my flexibility to trade for Matthew Judon?
Right.
I think we get all excited in March and offseason about getting these guys, but the reality is the smart teams look big picture. And the Niners probably, if you look at individually, there's a logic to every move they're making. And I think discounting them, yes, are they as hot a Super Bowl pick? Definitely not this year. I think everyone's a little down on them because they came off, lost Super Bowl, very valid point, and they're getting older, they seem injury prone. But still, like, I would not write this team off. In fact, they might be better next year. I have no idea.
I'm not writing them off.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't think anyone could look at the 49ers and be like, they're having a great offseason. And maybe it doesn't matter, but I ask you, who does it generally impact, or who could it impact the most? And to me, it's Purdy. You're putting him out there, first of all, with the backups, which was describe the logic for that for me, because he looked really bad in the preseason game. Granted, it's a preseason game, but why was he out there with the backups?
But is that a problem? I don't know. It feels like a kind of a little thing.
But you think there's logic to everything. I don't know where the logic is to
I think
that.
they wanted to get Purdy one preseason game, and it would have been the second game. So, now we're getting to should it play in preseason or not play in preseason. I don't think like that's a reason to downgrade Purdy.
It's just all the turmoil things that have happened are happening mostly on the offensive side of the ball. And it's not having your left tackle. It's not having Purdy's favorite receiver. Whatever you want to say about all the weapons for the 49ers, the numbers don't lie. Ayuk is a security blanket for that guy. And he's not just security blanket, he's explosive for him. 18 yards per catch, the amount of third down catches, how Ayuk keeps the chains moving. I just don't see how any of this helps Purdy to be farting around here with, his favorite receiver, especially if he's actually going to come back. And they are going to pay him like a big amount. And it's going to fall in line with all the rest of the wide receiver contracts. It doesn't seem like anything really revolutionary is coming down the pike here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I want you as my GM. I think you're looking at big, small term. Here, the other thing, too, about their schedule, it's funny. They have a tough game to start off with the Jets. Then they basically have an extended preseason. For some bizarre reason, they put all their easy games up front. So they have time. They start off with the Jets. Then they go at Vikings, at Los Angeles, New England, Arizona, Seattle. And then they have a huge game against Kansas City. So there's time to, like, ease into this a little bit. They should probably be, if they're not 3-2 or something going into that Chiefs game, then something went direly wrong. Again, like, this is would you have ever thought when Jimmy G was the quarterback in 2019, like they were going to be able to reinvent this thing with Mr. Irrelevant in the draft?
No, especially they didn't think that. They traded 3 picks for Trey Lance.
Right, that's
they
what
never thought this.
And it's not really because of Brock Purdy. It's because, man, they just know what they're doing. They're drafting Kyle Shanahan players and bringing them in. Like, nobody saw Hufunga coming. Nobody really, like, Ayuk fell to 25 in the draft. Debo was a second rounder. I think they can reinvent themselves pretty well. And, honestly, like, you should be worried about something completely different.
What's that?
That Kyle Shanahan doesn't seem to know what to call in a game. Like, when the big moment comes, that dude, like, honestly, he's so Andy Reid. It reminds me so much of him in Philly. Like, oh, my God, you're a great coach. You have this great offense, but then you screwed up at the biggest moments.
Yeah, see, I think, like, you bring up the Eagles with Andy Reid.
It's so similar.
I know, but that doesn't make 49er fans feel great. You realize that.
Well, Andy eventually won in Kansas City.
Yeah,
that was part of my narrative.
Yeah, somewhere else. Like,
but it took him a long time to figure out. He actually started getting a lot of help on the in-game stuff. Like, Shanahan will grow. He's in his 40s. I mean, I trust Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch a lot. I think they're a really good duo. And I think this is great teams.
You trust them with 5 minutes left to go in the Super Bowl?
No, I trust him in team building.
Got it.
Yeah. And I don't think this is a 1 year thing. I think they're going to be heard from for a very long
It
time.
hasn't been a 1 year thing though. We've been hearing from them. Like,
But you're painting sort of like a Jerry Jones all in this year, like they really need to like put all their eggs in a basket. I like they're thinking long term with Brandon Ayuk. They're like, we're not going to hand you the keys to the kingdom. Like, you're our number 2 receiver. You're cool. We like you. We don't love you. We drafted your replacement. He's hurt. Otherwise, you'd probably be gone by now.
Well, if they really wanted flexibility, just give him a couple extra guaranteed dollars for this year and then let him go.
Sure, they're trying that. I mean,
I think his contract's going to end up being just like all the other wide receiver contracts. 4 years, lots of guaranteed money.
Yeah, it's going to be DJ Moore 2.0.
Right. So that's not like, that's investing. That's not like that. That's investing and having another guy who's going to be a $10 million or a year player, which they have like 7 of those, which is like, that's eventually you are going to have to rely on Ayuk because you did make an investment. And I guess like you and I will disagree on this. I don't think there's a coaching staff with more pressure on them than the 49ers. I can't even imagine. Even the guys who like are on the quote unquote hot seat, like Mike McCarthy, I think there's more on Shanahan.
Oh, no way. Shanahan ain't going anywhere.
People think Shanahan is like the most like the greatest offensive mind.
Totally.
People think McCarthy is like a doofus.
There's
way more
spot
pressure.
the lie.
There's way more pressure on Kyle Shanahan to finally make good on this like genius guru kind of thing. If Mike McCarthy is like one step away from a diner in Pittsburgh.
Well, right, but there's more pressure in the sense that Shanahan is going to be there for as long as Shanahan wants to be there. I would think Mike McCarthy's literally on the hot seat, so I think you're getting caught up in the moment here to say there's more pressure on Shanahan.
McCarthy's already won a Super Bowl.
Honestly, a better scenario for Shanahan is to go 10-6 and not be in the NFC title game. Like, they'll be, like that, or 10-7, sorry. The worst thing for Shanahan is to get right up to the brink of the Super Bowl and lose it again. That would be a disaster.
That's weird logic.
You know what I mean, though. Like, sometimes, like, Shanahan is now, we're judging him on these high profile, deep playoff mistakes. I think, honestly, Shanahan obviously is not going to be on the hot seat. I mean, that's in any time soon. Maybe within 5 years. He might be him and McVay are probably 2 of the most secure coaches in the NFL.
Okay, McVay's already won. And McCarthy's already won. Whatever we think of Mike McCarthy.
Is there a person alive who would take Mike McCarthy over Kyle Shanahan?
But it doesn't matter. I'm talking about for Shanahan, for this coaching staff. They have to feel the most pressure of any coaching staff in the league. For all those reasons you said, he got so close. You just said Kyle Shanahan would be better off losing early in the playoffs. Well, that's what Mike McCarthy keeps doing. So, and again, he's already got the Lombardi. So I think Shanahan feels it more than anyone. Also because people are pinning these big losses on him. How often do we pin a Super Bowl loss on a coordinator?
Right.
He gets that for the Falcons loss on the resume. I don't even know is there another coordinator in history who we pin a big loss like that on?
No, I can't think of anyone.
Right.
But that being said, that's why if you're Kyle Shanahan, you better call John Lynch and be like, hey, we got to keep this team good for a long time. I need as many bites of the apple as I can. Listen, what you're saying is just not true. Mike McCarthy is under intense pressure in Dallas. I mean, crazy pressure.
Yeah, I don't think...
Wait, what do you think is going to happen there? If they're not good, he's gone, mid-season.
No, Jerry doesn't. Jerry will not pay people to not work.
If they're bad, it's going to be bad.
Well, let's keep it on the 49ers. 855-212-4227. You're welcome to call in on the pressure on Kyle Shanahan. Is all this offseason turmoil hurting Brock Purdy the most? Jacked Purdy. You guys seen this dude? He's huge. Swole, as they say. Have you seen his arms? It's crazy. He looks like a totally different dude. 855-212-4227. Okay, we start off with the 49ers. You're welcome to weigh in. We know we're on in the Bay Area. Coming up, we do have a surreal moment from last night with Hard Knocks and an opportunity missed for the Bears. We'll get to that next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Up late last night. Two things going on for me.
What do you got?
The show Umbrella Academy came back to Netflix. Probably my favorite Netflix show of all time. It's just insane, awesome. I was watching that, and then I had to flip over to Hard Knocks on Max. And Hard Knocks, I had heard whisperings, because I think they had talked about it on the podcast, that Big Cat was going to be featured on Hard Knocks, part of my take.
Your guy.
Barstool Sports. That was insane. I've never seen any media member get as much glow up in Hard Knocks in the history of the world. I mean,
they're popular guys.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny because they gave a little love to the NFL Network guys, Kyle Brandt and Peter Schrager. They give a lot of love to Kay Adams. And then, boom, 10 minutes of Big Cat and PFT quizzing Caleb Williams. I'm like, what is this? Did you watch it last night and wonder why they spent so much time on that crazy interview? PFT's like, if you could press a button to kill a series of Bears, or kill one Bears fan to win 10 straight Super Bowls, would you do it? I'm like, this is getting into Hard Knocks now?
Honestly, what a question. And Caleb Williams basically didn't answer it. It's an amazing what if.
He sort of answered. He started pressing an imaginary button. he would do the right thing and kill the fan. I mean, is it really even a question? I mean, it's just one fan. They said 10 Super Bowls.
They said there would be fans just volunteering.
Yeah, totally.
Because that's how bad the Bears have been.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was even a tough question. I mean, that was, yeah, of course, one fan. I mean, you could pick an older fan, right?
It'd just be funny if it's like, all right, who?
Name
someone.
I think if you pick somebody who's, on the back nine, what's the difference? For we're talking 10 Super Bowls.
Murder or Super Bowl? It's a fair trade.
Is it murder, though? I mean, is any jury in Chicago going to convict them, Ryan?
No, but if you're willingly killing someone.
Yeah, I mean, Caleb didn't directly answer, but he answered without answering. He would do it. And that's what I want out of my quarterback. I want him to be willing to commit a capital crime in order to win a Super Bowl. You got to be all in.
Yeah.
But one thing.
That's the definition of all
Hard Knocks. Hard Knocks is such a celebration of Caleb Williams. It's like.
It's amazing.
If there was any doubt, like, do we like this guy? Basically, they might as well, like, show his Canton bust, his Hall of Fame bust. And I've never seen such a ridiculous glow up for a rookie quarterback in my life than Caleb Williams.
Weirdly, it feels like he kind of deserves it. Yeah, it's not the same as when the Browns had Baker Mayfield #1 and they were doing they had like a cool van. This is like Caleb Williams is like the second coming, and he might be. I'm kind of buying all of it because Caleb looks so good. But,
yeah, I know. But we do this with Hard Knocks. We're like, well, this team's going to win 14 games.
Well, and they've got a Doomsday, though. Like, it's good.
But they're not winning 14 games, Maggie. He is a rookie quarterback, and they are the Bears. So they're the problem is if they were in the NFC South or the AFC South, we'd be like, yeah, let's go. But they're stuck in this crazy division. So just remember that before you buy that. Are you buying the Hard Knocks hype again, Maggie? I've lectured you about this before.
Well, I never bought it when it was like the Rams Chargers joint one. I don't know. I don't buy all of them, but this one I'm buying. The vibes seem really good. But here's two other things from Hard Knocks last night. One is that it looks like the Bears were pretty close to trading for Matthew Judon, who eventually went to the Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah.
But here's the crazy part about it. You're seeing Ryan Poles, the GM, say, well, we need to get him under contract if we're going to trade for him.
Yeah.
Then he goes to Atlanta, and he's just playing without a new contract. So I started thinking to myself, if you're Judon, what's the better situation? Because he's 32 years old. So do you want to go play with Kirk Cousins coming off an Achilles? Maybe it's an easier division in the NFC South. It definitely is. Or do you want to go get on the Caleb Williams train and like that thing could be paying off really fast? So you do well there. Now maybe you're part of Bears Super Bowl lore. And you could be making money off of that for the rest of your life. Look at the 85 Bears. All those guys are still dining out on something from 40 years ago. If I were Judon and I'm not taking a new contract anyway, I think I would have chosen the Bears.
Well, I mean, Atlanta is going to be in the playoffs this year, though. You're going to play longer this year. You're 32. You're going to get a big shot this year and maybe next year. So is that more valuable? There's Bears, and they're not contending this year.
Like, who's the more stable situation? I think I attach myself to the quarterback, though.
Well, yeah, but I feel like, first of all, there's nothing wrong with Atlanta. They're a young, kind of talented team in a super easy division. I don't know.
Play inside, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Judon, who's 32, like, you really got to, if you're being smart about it, I think you'd take Atlanta this year. You have one or two shots, and this is like Atlanta's division to lose. They really should be in the playoffs. I would take Atlanta right now for this year.
The Bears are going to get a lot of attention, you know?
I mean, when do you think the Bears pass the Packers and the Lions?
I don't know, but I'm just saying if you want to, you're going to be playing some big games. We always talk about Atlanta And we're on in Atlanta, and we love you, Atlanta, but you'll say it all the time. The pro team in Atlanta is the Georgia Bulldogs, and there's like a care factor. And
yeah, but I'm not sure that that's the key ingredient here. First of all, Atlanta needs him a lot more than Chicago needs him. Chicago's already got Montez Sweat. Atlanta has been so desperate, like he's going to be a conquering hero. They have a great chance. They could get probably not the number one seed, but they're going to be a very good team this year.
Have we seen Kirk Cousins? Is he even around? I don't know.
Yeah, apparently he looks fine. I don't know. I mean,
Working on that playlist.
How hard is it to win?
Of course, the Jimmy Eat World.
How hard is it to win the NFC
and
South?
other
Like
bangers.
we have how many people here? We can find 7 people off the street and go 8-9 and capture that NFC South. This is not Judon, like Atlanta. Both are good situations, but I think Atlanta's just a little better right now. He's got 2 years. He's 32.
So the other small thing about Hard Knocks, actually, maybe we'll save that. My other observation about Hard Knocks, we'll save that for a little bit later. It has to do with Caleb Williams. But CeeLo is here, and he's got updates for us. What's going on today?
All right, we're sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Protect your family, your phone, and your furry friends with life, electronic device, and pet health insurance. If I could just piggyback off the Judon stuff there. 2 things, because I remembered reading this in the story. Now, I understand sometimes players aren't exactly telling the truth, but he was asked about the reports of having the choice between the Falcons and the Bears at his press conference the other day. And he said, don't believe everything you read or everything you see. So maybe it wasn't that cut and dry. And to your point about the pro team in Atlanta being the Georgia Bulldogs, he showed up to his press conference wearing a Georgia T-shirt, and his first words out of his mouth were, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
So he knows
you got
what's
to
up.
pander.
Yeah, he knows what he's doing. Yes.
I got to say one thing about what you just said about that trade deal. I wonder if there is context and gray areas that are always missing these reports about what actually happened. CeeLo, you and I think alike. Like just the fact that okay, maybe that's what happened. Just because you see it on Hard Knocks does not mean a single thing, because that is a string of lies. I watched the Giants off-season 1. That was the most curated bunch of garbage I've ever seen in my life. Like, what's really happening way, way, way behind the scenes might be a little different than all these reported trades. I'm just saying.
Well, all I know is I watched one of the heads of their scouting department, or whoever that guy was, basically having to make Ryan Poles feel better. It's like, hey, don't forget, we made a great trade for a guy at the draft. He had to pump him up because of how bad Poles was feeling about losing out on Judon.
Okay.
So I think there was real interest.
That was not real. That was a stage scene. Matt Eberflus starting off the show.
Actors.
Matt Eberflus starting off the show talking with Caleb Williams about what he did well. That, honestly, did they have a script writer for that scene? I'm like, this is phoniest garbage I've ever seen in my life.
You don't think the head coach talks to the quarterback?
Oh, my
That's
God.
Phony.
You don't think they were performing for the camera? It's like it was perfectly lit, much better lit than us, I might add. And it was like, Eberflus, it looked like he was reading cue cards. So now what are you learning as a young quarterback? Nobody talks like that. That was ridiculous.
Well, they probably keep the cursing a little to a minimum, but I guess you don't think that Eberflus and Caleb Williams would sit down and watch film together?
And talk like that? Not in a million years. That was so. You didn't think? You don't think they noticed the camera crew 4 feet away and changed their behavior?
They had a guy in an Eagle Speedo thong thing singing a song. I don't think they're worried about being that PC.
Not PC. They want to look like they're football. Matt Eberflus is now tell me what you learned here, young man.
Yeah.
It was
I think
ridiculous.
Eberflus is kind of awkward like that, but.
Awkward like that. That was phony. And there was a lot of Ryan Poles things that were staged too. Anyway, I agree. There's way more subtlety to these deals. Even Brandon Ayuk and the Steelers deal, we keep on hearing these deals. Oh, did the Steelers offer him this or that? I just think that these deals are much more fluid, and who knows? What did Judon say?
He said, don't believe everything you read or that you see or you hear. So I don't necessarily
smell
think
and
he's...
taste?
Yeah, right. That's
Well,
a good point.
I think he's saying, whatever happened in New England, it didn't go down exactly as being portrayed by the media.
I don't think he's shooting down the Bears' interest, but the idea that it was left up to him to choose, I'm guessing New England probably got the better pick from Atlanta, and that's the way they went. I don't know. That's pure speculation on my part, but sounds like it wasn't strictly up to Judon to choose.
Right.
Maybe both teams were interested, and they just went with the better package. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
But in any event, yesterday we heard quite a bit from Tua Tagovailoa ripping into former Dolphins head coach Brian Flores. This morning, you get the response from Flores, who did speak yesterday. Of course, now the defensive coordinator for the Vikings. First things first.
Genuinely happy for the success that Tua's had. And I really wish him nothing but the best.
Now, having
that's
said
a lie.
that,
You think the guys on the Hard Knocks are lying. That is a lie.
there were a lot of long pauses as he was gathering his thoughts throughout the course of this media availability. He wasn't reading from a script or notes. But yes, referring to him as, quote, a terrible person, a bit of a humbling moment.
Look, I'm human, so that hit me in a way that, I wouldn't say it was, positive for me. but at the same time, I've got to use that and say, hey, how can I grow from that? How can I be better?
He said he's done a lot of reflecting on this as well as his time in Miami and feels he's grown. So, take that for what it's worth. He's obviously in a different role now with Minnesota. Whether he gets a chance to head coach again down the road somewhere remains to be seen.
What blitz is he using against Caleb Williams? It's what I want to know.
Right, that's what's important.
Yeah, I like Brian Flores did give a little Belichick. He's like, I'm more focused on the Vikings defense and a player I'm not even coaching. Yes. Act like a pro. I'm like Tua.
A couple of his defensive players show up basically at his side at the press conference to show some support. So
if I'm the Dolphins, I'm glad I'm not playing the Vikings this year because it would be nothing but all-out blitzes every single play. So it's like, I don't care what you do. Hit that guy.
I would think Tua is smart enough. Had they been on the schedule, I don't think you're getting those comments in that area.
That's an interesting point.
Right? I would hope he'd have the foresight. You don't want that
Tua's
smoke.
Tua lost some weight.
No?
I think.
Oh, man.
No. He would have probably thought about that if Flores was. I think he might have been a little bit more careful.
I think he got $200 million. It was just like double birds.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, if they've been playing?
Kick rocks. Like, I win here. You lose. But, again, I don't know. We'll talk about this a little bit more. What's at stake for Tua now that he put himself out there?
Yep. All right. Our daily dose of Aaron Rodgers. Thoughts on his second training camp with the Jets. This time, of course, coming off the torn Achilles.
I would say the camp is much harder this year and maybe the hardest in the last 7 or 8 of my career. I knew that. I had a little insight coming into camp that that's what Robert wanted to do. So I think it's been good for us.
It's interesting because he just recently was talking about how things used to be done, like back in the day, training camp wise, when he was a younger player, and how much more they play in the preseason and all that. So now he talks about it being one of the harder ones he's had. So they've avoided serious injury to this point. A ton of reps for the starters. I was reading a story. I guess they estimated over 300 so far in camp, which I guess is on the high side. And they've got a joint practice with the Giants today. What could go wrong? Ahead of their annual preseason game Saturday night. Rodgers still unsure if he's going to play in that game. He's leaving it up to the aforementioned Robert Saleh, head coach of the Jets. As the CeeDee Lamb holdout continues with the Cowboys, Jerry Jones said Tuesday that the two sides are having, quote, promising talks on a contract extension. He thinks they'll get something done, but he didn't want to speak for Lamb. He feels that their current offer shows they want him to be there long term, whatever that means. Maybe some
all
jockey.
in.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if this is their all-in offer, but he sounds at least optimistic that he will be in there sooner rather than later, perhaps with the season opener looming not too far away now. Baseball, how about the longest game of the season in terms of innings, at least in the Bronx, and it went the way of the visitors last night.
Swung on, drilled, deep right field, down the line, fair ball. 2 bounces up against the wall. Schneemann will score. Thomas with a double and his first RBI as a Guardian. And the Guardians take a 4-3 lead here in the 12th.
Tom Hamilton, Guardians radios. Cleveland plated 6 runs in the 12th and then finish off the Yankees 9-5 in a matchup of division leaders. I read that. I'm like, 12 innings, that's it? Longest game of the year? I guess that extra runner starting on second base has really done the trick. All 10 and 11 extra inning games.
It's like we used to have 16, 17. I mean, just go forever. You got your backup catcher on the mound, like just all types of silliness. Basically calling dudes out of the stands to come and pitch.
I mean, that's basically what the Yankees, I think they used 9 pitchers last night because their starter he exited early with some back tightness. So there was a lot of... They were basically down to like the last bench player on both sides, and they had a million runners left on base on both sides. But Cleveland does walk away a winner in a game where both Juan Soto and Aaron Judge homered for the Yankees. They went back-to-back in the first inning, number 45 for Judge. How about the Staten Island Little League coach getting after Judge? Did you see this at all?
I did see it.
Yeah, I mean, very strange. He basically ripped into Judge for not visiting his team in Williamsport Sunday. He had the Little League Classic, or waving at them at some point from, I guess, the on-deck circle or whatever, to the point where the Yankees released a lengthy statement last night to shoot down some of what the coach said, got it wrong, didn't know the schedule of what the Yankees were asked to do by the league, and they had all these other players that did visit with them, and very strange. The coach said, after we win this thing, they ain't taking pictures with us either. Only Aaron Boone and the guys who showed up. And then they went out and lost last night. They got eliminated, so it's over. Very strange.
That's a very New York thing. To be all full of bravado and like they think Aaron Judge, he's too good for me.
Yeah.
So who's this bum?
Very outspoken.
It's a Staten Island thing.
Crazy. Yeah.
I guess. And just to circle back, you guys started this segment with the Hard Knocks. So Ryan Poles was on. Is it Hoagie and Johns or Hogan Johns? I don't know, this podcast. So they're obviously doing the training camp edition of Hard Knocks this year. But as far as what the Giants did with the offseason Hard Knocks, you just heard Perloff kind of rip into that a little bit. Poles not sure that we're going to get that every year.
And I struggle sometimes just with conversations, about players, and, there's a business side of things, and we try to be transparent as possible, but I don't know if that needs to get out to everybody.
And he was basically making the point that teams aren't going to want to open up and show as much as the Giants did. And I think there he was maybe specifically referring to the Saquon Barkley stuff and the way that was portrayed. So, I mean, I don't know that teams are going to have a choice if they want to continue it, but sounds like maybe other teams and GMs around the league, it wasn't exactly well received.
Yeah, I could see that. They were embarrassed, right? They got a lot of negative reviews. The Giants did. I think it got better as the thing went on, but at first we're like, wow, they're saying really surface comments about these draft prospects. They're like, oh, wow, this guy had 1,200 yards rushing. You see this guy? I'm like, that's your analytic?
Honestly, I don't know why the Giants were so hell-bent on doing this off-season one when the training camp one gives you the best commercial.
Yeah.
I
That's
think
a good point.
From what I've heard, and our local guys here in New York were at Giants camp yesterday. John Mara, co-owner, has been very against having cameras in and around training camp, does not want the distraction. So
yeah, he's wrong on this.
Yeah, I mean,
this is another Giants miscalculation. Yeah. But this is silly. Like if you're on your 100th season, you're trying to do this big celebration, and the season's probably going to be pretty bad. The best thing you can do is at least try to hype up the guys. Like, everyone looks good in training camp for the most part.
You got neighbors in camp making all kinds of plays. You could focus on that.
All 32 teams don't want Hard Knocks. There's never been a
That's
team.
true. Yeah.
There's never, ever been a team or
maybe
a
the Cowboys.
They're one team.
Yeah. Jerry loves
Jerry would. Jerry does want.
You're right. 31 teams who don't want Hard Knocks.
They made a freaking series about the cheerleaders.
I mean, for some
they
reason,
definitely want this stuff.
The Colts show every single thing that happens in their building. They have a 24/7 Hard Knocks. For some reason, Chris Ballard has a camera on him at all times. So there are teams that show all this stuff anyway. Like, those draft night videos, like you see all the video of them, the good picks. Like the Rams, I've seen the video of them drafting Puka Nacua like 100 times.
Yeah.
But never you see the third round pick who flamed out in training camp.
Yeah, who cares, right?
But so anyway, it's all curated. You're right about the Giants, though. Like, why would they be afraid of training camp?
I thought that the offseason was not great for them. I didn't think they looked very good. CeeLo, thank you so much. 855-212-4227. That's the number to get in touch with the show. Coming up, this is either the dumbest idea ever or the most innovative. There is no in between. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Gotta hand it to Mike Gundy, man. His particular brand of tone deafness, really is
BS. I think that's the word that would come to mind.
It's just so consistent. But man, did Oklahoma State, they may have stumbled upon something pretty brilliant here. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff with you. So we brought you the story yesterday from a couple days ago of Mike Gundy getting really upset with agents now representing college football players for coming during the season and during fall camp with their hands out asking for more money, right? And he's like, stop calling me, stop asking for more money. The deal is the deal. We're closed for business. The transfer portal is closed. Then yesterday, we get the story that Oklahoma State is now going to be putting QR codes on their uniforms so that you can pause the game at some point or do it while it's live. You can scan the QR code off the TV while Oklahoma State is playing a football game, and that will take you directly to the Oklahoma State Collective where you can donate money. So players, stop asking for money, but we will literally be asking for money all season long. Like, you can't ask me for money in the season, but then I'm going to turn around and ask the fan base or whoever's watching on TV that feels inclined, please give us money. It's a wild turn. Yeah. However, it's pretty brilliant.
Yeah, but it's so sickening. I mean, it's like, I hate this raising NIL money from fans and now trying to like trap people in some sort of easier way to make it like, why is I watch a college football game. There's the 10 biggest companies, Google, Apple, like give that money to the players.
Right.
Why do I have to give the money if I'm an Oklahoma State fan? I don't have half the money of these corporations. So basically, because the coaches and the ADs and the 47 administrators want to line their pockets, so the money has to come out of me, and somebody's watching the game. Like, this is bad. This is not good.
Well, boosters have existed forever, so they've
but like
always been asking
boosters, like
the
rich
fan
boosters,
base. Right.
not like Jimmy Smith sitting at home. I just think this is like, I don't know. It just rubs me the wrong way.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
But I think they've learned probably a thing or two from politics. How many emails do we all get? $5 and this will help my candidate, or $10. I think they're trying to do this thing sort of bootstraps. But as sort of hypocritical as this is from Gundy, and just like how kind of gross maybe it feels a little bit, can I tell you the one team who should be doing this more than anybody? They probably won't, because maybe they think they're above it. But the one team who should be doing this more than anyone is Notre Dame. The Notre Dame fan base, I remember our former colleague at Sports Illustrated, Pete Thamel, once told me there are people out there with Notre Dame tattoos on their body who couldn't find South Bend with a map. There's something about the Notre Dame fan base, Perloff, that is just, it's coast to coast. It's, people, it's part of their identity. Notre Dame hits in a way that might be different for certain fans. It's such a national fan base. If Notre Dame put the QR codes on their helmets and stuff, I think the donations are rolling in from coast to coast.
Yeah, I don't know if a guy in New York who follows Notre Dame is the same as somebody in Georgia who follows the Bulldogs. Don't you think like the loyalty of the local base? I mean, I think Notre Dame, who gets the most money from boosters? Like, I'm sure Notre Dame is up there. They're probably top 5 already. Right. But are they better than all the other programs? We'd have to ask like Andy Staples. I think there are a lot of loyal fans. Like,
I think there's a lot of casual fans who like Notre Dame. That's what I'm saying.
But like, what's the more? Oh, so you're saying like spread it out?
Yeah, if you're trying to get $5 here, $10 here, $20, $100, whatever, I think Notre Dame would be the smartest fan base to do this.
Right, but are they waking up and having 20 hours of Notre Dame in their life? If you're in Alabama, you're having a lot of Tide. I don't know. It's interesting. Will
this work?
It might work. I mean, the funny thing is, like, Alabama and Georgia seem to have a slight problem on their hand.
What's that?
Like they don't seem to be the NIL kings. It seems like Miami, EJ's team, Miami. There's a few teams. A&M, Louisville is like red hot on the NIL. The NIL seems to follow a different rhythm. Like Alabama and Georgia have been dominant, but all of a sudden, we can't get enough money. These Texas schools, UT is getting a lot. Like, so you bring up a great point. Like, what's the formula? Notre Dame could dominate if they wanted to, probably. But look at the NIL. Right? There's some big collectives that would surprise you. I mean, Miami's been burning money for the last 5 years?
Yeah, well, take a knee and maybe you get a little more money. Sorry, AJ.
Yeah, there's some surprising programs, and I think it's a system. I think you hit on a good point. It's like who has the best system to raise money. It's not who you think it is. And Alabama, one thing about Alabama, they're not a huge state. You might have a point. Like, if you're going to open up to fans, there are much bigger places. I mean, think of Texas is gigantic. California is gigantic. Florida is very big. So it's interesting how this NIL thing is still sorting out. But this is like these QR codes. Come on, dude. As you started out, like, you just were railing against players asking for more. Meanwhile, you're like, get $20 million, whatever. Mike Gundy probably gets $9 million a year.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear from you, Mike Gundy. That's ridiculous.
It's bad timing, I think, to say, players, stop coming to me with your hand out, and then literally putting your hand out to America. Like, it's very unique, only I think to Mike Gundy. Only he could do something like this, or I don't know. There's another part of this. When I first read the story, I thought this was going to be so curated that if I am watching the left tackle from Oklahoma State and I think he's doing great, I can scan his QR code and I can specifically donate to him.
That was my first thought too. It's not the case.
It's not the case. You just go straight to the collective.
So, yeah, that annoys me too.
That would be awesome.
Because they're presenting it as if you can reward individual play.
But it goes to the collective.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
You don't get, it's not a boutique.
Hey, how about that Dr. Pepper ad goes to the collective and not to the AD?
Well,
I mean, how many houses do
these
guys need? This is ridiculous.
Well, when they become employees, then they'll be able to split that money most likely, or have a union or something like that.
We'll see. There's still a long way to go.
One quarterback putting himself squarely in the crosshairs this upcoming season. Lots and lots of pressure after he called out a former coach. We'll get to that next. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
Well, one quarterback put himself a little bit more in the crosshairs just by being honest. Hey, welcome to the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Of course, we're talking about Tua Tagovailoa, who did an interview with Dan Le Batard's show where he really called out his former coach, Brian Flores, insinuating that he was a terrible person. That was a direct quote, and saying that, he's a guy who's just very negative, and the criticism every day of saying, you're not good enough, you shouldn't be here, we're going to replace you with somebody else. All of that really weighed on Tua, and how his new coach, Mike McDaniel, has been the opposite, Pearl. He's been the breath of fresh air. Yeah. He's been the guy who's just pumped him full of confidence.
Well, the we're going to replace you thing had something to do with the fact that the Dolphins openly wanted Deshaun Watson. Yeah. But by the way, if Tua's complaining about that, he's got about 18 other friends who have the same problem, because is there a team that didn't tell everybody? The Eagles wanted Deshaun Watson over Jalen Hurts. And anyway, that's a little complicated. But I do think, I can see Brian Flores being very, very negative with Tua. But
that's why he got fired.
I do think it's been one day. 2 days ago was Tua has been wronged day. Yeah. Yesterday was a little bit of a Brian Flores revenge tour.
So he was speaking to the media, and we want to play a little bit for you because Flores obviously, should have the opportunity to defend himself. It was certainly a personal thing that Tua, that he said in his interview. So here's Brian Flores yesterday. He's now the Vikings defensive coordinator. He said he wishes Tua nothing but the best. This is how he started the interview.
Genuinely happy, genuinely happy for the success that Tua's had. And I really wish him nothing but the best.
Yeah, we're starting with a lie. I mean, maybe he's telling the truth at other points of the press conference, but we're starting with a lie there, Perloff. I did not buy that for a second.
I kind of believed it. I don't know.
Listen, he's taking the high road publicly, but no, I don't think that somebody airs you out, calls you a terrible person. You're fired because of the bad relationship you fostered with this guy. Now you're a defensive coordinator when you were a head coach, and you were doing well as a head coach, to be honest. You're doing pretty well. And no, I do not believe he.
God, I don't know why I'm such a sucker. I've always been a sucker for Brian Flores. He's a good speaker, and I always bought Brian Flores. According to I'm dead wrong.
You also say coaches, how do you know they're lying is when their mouths are moving.
Yeah, I just think that I don't think Brian Flores is held up on Tua as Tua is held up on Brian Flores, because Flores was a coach, Tua was a quarterback. The power dynamic was in Flores' favor. I think that genuinely he might be okay, maybe it was too hard on that kid.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that there's animosity from Flores to Tua, but, you could be right.
Let's hear more from Flores in terms of how he's reflecting because of the way that Tua characterized their relationship.
Look, I've done a lot of reflecting and on this situation, and reflecting on the situation, communication. I think there's things that I could do better, for sure, and I've grown in that way. And I've tried to apply the things that I could do better and the things that I've learned.
See, I'm wondering about this, right? He's kind of his voice shaking a little bit here, right? Was he reflecting after he got fired and thinking, I did something wrong here? Or has he been reflecting since Monday when this came out and it got aired out publicly? I'm not sure. Here's more from Flores saying that when Tua called him a bad person, a terrible person, that was really tough to hear.
Look, I'm human, so... that hit me in a way that, I wouldn't say it was, positive for me. But at the same time, I've got to use that and say, hey, how can I grow from that? How can I be better? And that's really where I'm at from that standpoint.
That was his best answer. And anytime you start a response with "I'm human," I think people are immediately disarmed. And that was a smart thing for him to say. Now, at the end, he refers to himself in the third person, which is kind of funny. But again, I think that was his best answer, right? That did hurt me, and I'm just like anyone else. Hearing that made me sort of pause.
Yeah, oh man, I hate to be callous, but I'm all right, what kind of blitz schemes are you going to use against Jordan Love this year? Yeah, you know what he ended with? He said, I'm focused on the Vikings. Again, I hated my coaches all my entire life. I couldn't stand coaches. I definitely have a problem with authority, as a lot of us do. I think everybody hates their coaches.
Is this why you're not a coach? Like I noticed you don't volunteer for any of your daughter's stuff.
I've coached at different times. I love coaching basketball. It's the most stressful thing in the world. But I do think, however, that this is like we're 2 weeks away from the season. Why? I don't know. When was the interview with Dan Le Batard and Tua? Was it filmed the day before it aired?
It aired Monday, so I don't know.
It aired Monday, but I feel like Brian Flores said, I'm focused on the Vikings. I think in an ideal world, Tua would have said, I had these issues with Brian Flores, but now I'm focused on what's going on now. It just felt like a little bit of a revenge, which I think Tua is a younger quarterback, probably. Like, does that need, it feels like there's an expression, if you have a resentment, it's only hurting one person, and that's you.
Right.
I feel like Tua should have let go of this because he has found it's been 2 years with Mike McDaniel now. He's been great. I'm not sure why I understand you think it's a contract, but that's not the most mature.
In passing last year.
It's not the most mature way to handle it. Like
he's a little more steady in the fact and solidified in his starting spot. So maybe you're just feeling a little bit like, all right, I'm comfortable now because I'm not going anywhere, at least for the immediate future.
Right.
Like they've invested in me, so now I feel like I can find my voice a little bit. And he's just like getting older. I mean,
but is that ideal? I mean,
well, I think natural maturity at that age is different than Brian Flores' maturity as like a middle-aged man. You're going to be in different spots in your life. And I guess, and everyone should be like, striving for this kind of thing. I guess here's the question that I have off of this.
Yeah.
Flores spoke yesterday, and I may have thought that he was lying about saying he's happy for Tua's success. But I think there's a world here where Tua ends up coming out looking like the bad guy here, which I did not think was possible 24 hours ago. But when you said yesterday, wah, 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 Tua keep crying, and if Tua has a bad season this year, and if the Vikings defense is awesome, we do this thing in sports where it's to the victor is the spoils, right? And the history is written by the winners. And if Tua has a bad year, then this should not hurt his argument. Like, it should not change what he said. But I know what we do in sports here. And if Tua has a bad year, and if Brian Flores has a good year, I think people are going to say, look, see, Tua shouldn't have said anything. Or something. We're like that in sports. Right?
You think? Yeah, 100%. I mean, honestly, Brian Flores people pointed out yesterday, a lot of people were like, well, he had the same winning percentage as Mike McDaniel. I mean, honestly, Brian Flores' biggest crime against Tua Tagovailoa was not being there when Tyreek Hill arrived. Like, what's the biggest difference, Mike McDaniel or Tyreek Hill? I just think that Flores probably could have won with Tua, too. I don't know.
No, Tua would have been gone if Flores stayed.
He played him. He won with Tua. I'm not sure that he would have been gone.
So there was some reporting yesterday from ESPN. Was it Field Yates who covers the team? Not Field Yates.
Jeff Darlington, who clearly does not like
really
Brian.
Alike.
Does not like Brian Flores, but yes.
Well, he said that his reporting was that, he did a lot of the reporting there and said that Flores was hell-bent on moving on from Tua.
Yeah.
So at least that's one person who was there. Okay, you're right.
Well, I mean, Tua would have been in the second year of a 4-year rookie deal. He easily could have been the starter the third year. I mean, were they going to cut him?
I don't know. I know they weren't going to cut him, but could they have brought somebody in? We see this all the time. They don't pick up guys' rookie fifth-year options. Like, they trade guys. That happens a lot.
Anyway, I just think that some of this is revisionist history by Tua. Flores, like, okay, they didn't get along. Time to move on. Like, why are you talking about another coach? What's the point? What is he trying to gain here?
Does it put more pressure on Tua this year?
Probably.
That's like the opposite that you want to happen here if I'm Tua, right? There's already a lot of pressure on your head coach. We know that the owner will cycle through head coaches like tissues. You, just got paid, so now even more is going to be expected of you. We have no idea what kind of lofty goal Tyreek Hill's going to set for the year. Another 2,000-yard receiving season, who knows what. You have a streak going back to the year 2000 where you haven't won a playoff game. So, like, there was already a lot of stuff and a lot of pressure on this Dolphins season, and did Tua just add a whole other layer of it and a whole other thing that's self-inflicted? All the things I just talked about, that has nothing to do with Tua. What Tyreek Hill says, Mike McDaniel's being on the hot seat, the fact that they haven't won a playoff game, all right, that's partly Tua. That's partly a lot of people who screwed up with the Dolphins in the last 24 years. But he just added another layer of telling another coach it was because of you that I faltered or that I, you mistreated me. Now it's like, well, you've got everything in the world. Now you've got a coach who thinks the sun shines out your you-know-what. So there's no excuse for you not to be awesome. Be, I don't know, insert whatever expectation you have for the Dolphins.
Well,
right
yeah,
here.
I mean, the real issue with the Dolphins.
What's that?
Is Bradley Chubb going to be healthy? Is Jalen Ramsey going to be healthy? Is this older defensive, highly paid player going to be healthy? What happened to him last year? There's only one thing happened to them. They all got hurt. And that's the thing. They're built on a team. They signed your guy, Jordan Poyer. I mean, do the math. He's a 32-year-old guy. How long is he going to be healthy? So, and Tua himself, how long is he going to be healthy? That's what I like. We're doing preseason picks, I assume, soon. I mean, do you really trust this team? I don't think I don't think by week 8 we're going to be talking about this Brian Flores conflict. We're really going to be talking about did Tua lose too much weight? What's going on here? He still makes me nervous. The second you always say Tua, I'm like, oh man, is he going to be healthy for the rest of this contract? He's great. You saw in the preseason, he was 5 for 5, zipping it all over. He understands this offense perfectly. We all like the Dolphins in September.
Yeah.
None of us like the Dolphins in December. So what's missing? What's the missing ingredient of this team? Maybe Brian Flores' toughness was something they needed. I don't even know actually what to make of this because Tua doesn't seem to have found the right formula to win a Super Bowl either. So at the end of the day, they feel like, oh, this is a 10-7 team who's going to flame out in the wild card. Is that? And then what happens? Where are we headed here?
I don't know. EJ, you wanted to comment on this as well. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, I feel like for Tua, this is now a big put up or shut up season because it's not just this Brian Flores stuff. I mean, he has kind of talked a lot the last few years. He's talked about, people doubting him. He's talked about people not believing in his numbers. He had the whole, remember, 400 yards is 400 yards comment after they beat the Chargers early last season. With all those comments, still very little playoff success. And at the end of the day,
zero.
We can talk about, none. And we can talk about how much better Tua has gotten when Brian Flores is gone. That's undoubtedly true. We know he's a much better quarterback now. But the results have been the same overall. And as a quarterback, you're overall judged by wins. So for me, when I look at Tua Tagovailoa, now the bar just got raised real high. Because you talked about how terrible the situation was under Brian Flores and how much better it is now. Well, I'm a Dolphin fan. I'm like, well, where are the playoff wins?
Yeah.
Where are the division titles? Where are the championships? Because that's what those fans want. And if you're telling me that you just came from a situation that was untenable, and now you're in this great situation and you still can't win a playoff game, that says a lot to me. So I think now Tua Tagovailoa is under a lot of pressure this year. And I'm curious he can face the heat because, like Perloff said, there are question marks on this team.
The other part, though, it's a good point, EJ. And here's the thing, though. The organization picked Tua. So, whether Mike McDaniel, because they gave him $200 million. So, whether they, whatever happens with Mike McDaniel, Tua's staying.
Yeah.
That's just we know how this works in professional sports. And so, if it's going to be on his third coach or whatever, they've made a choice, and the choice is Tua. I think we kind of glossed over something here, and you're welcome to weigh in on Tua. Is he facing more pressure? Is this the put up or shut up season, as EJ said, 855-212-4227? And do you find yourself a little sympathetic to Brian Flores at all? He's out there having to defend himself, and, it's a tough spot to be in. Did we sort of gloss over Perloff being a malcontent and not getting along with any coaches? That's kind of news to me.
Yes.
Are we surprised?
Wait, did anybody get along with their coaches? I've never talked to anybody who liked their coaches growing up.
I like some of my coaches.
Some of my coaches were really cool.
Yeah.
And what sport?
Baseball.
Baseball. Yeah, I've never played baseball at that level. Everybody hates basketball coaches. That's
what is it about basketball coaches?
Everybody wants the ball more. Everybody wants to shoot.
That's it.
Yeah,
More
except for
playing time.
the coolest AAU coaches. I've never heard of anyone who didn't hate their coach. EJ, you played basketball?
Me and Perloff are 100% on the same
Yeah.
page.
Everybody wants the ball more. And the coach is the only guardrail.
So here's the question: how did you said you're kind of bad with authority? That's also kind of news to me. So how did you express your sort of frustration? Were you kind of a hold-in guy?
No, I mean, we all. I mean, listen,
complain.
everybody hated my high school coach, so we were all like, "Oh my god!" And then he got fired.
He was Kobe's coach. Didn't you?
No,
I
I missed Kobe's coach.
Oh, okay.
My coach, the last year I was there was the last year he was there. Then Greg Downer, who's won 2 state titles since came in. So generally, we all hated our coach. Yeah, and pretty much every basketball coach. I played in a bunch of leagues too. Rarely did the guys like the coach.
So so funny.
Well, I don't. Have you guys ever experienced? I've never heard anyone say, "Oh my God, I love that coach."
I
in
always
basketball.
hear athletes talking about this coach changed my life and this
Not
coach.
in basketball.
Really?
I don't know.
Like Steph Curry talking about Bob McKillop. Like these guys, he reveres this guy. People talking about Coach K and John Calipari, and
I do feel like Perloff's onto something when it comes to particularly the high school basketball coach.
Okay.
Like I think maybe like, and there are guys who just like their obviously NBA and college coaches as well.
Yeah, Latrell, speaking about PJ Carlosimo, we know.
I think there's something about like everyone at high school is trying to get to that D1 level. Like everyone is trying to get there, including the coaches, including the referees. So I just think there's a level of intensity that probably is unwarranted that just makes everybody just not that happy, along with like teenage adolescents to throw into there.
Yeah.
So I think Perloff's onto something when it's like, yes, particularly the high school coach relationship to the players, typically not a great one.
Well, also too,
and the coaches got to deal with these annoying kids. Like I'm sure, like it's not great for them either.
And the parents.
High school football is
and
not generally a love fest either. Between maybe the head coach, because you can keep some distance between the drills and stuff, but generally, like I think a lot of high school football players are like, "Oh, that guy is a pain in my butt." That is the general disposition towards coaches.
It's funny. I covered high school sports when I was first started in this business, you know, so I've been around a lot of like good high schools. I don't know. I felt like Kyrie Irving got along with his high school coach pretty well.
Yeah, because he's Kyrie Irving.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of other guys I covered.
If you get to shoot 50 times in a game and the entire, he's Kyrie Irving in high school. Yeah, I'm sure he got along just great. His coach was like probably laying down flower petals every time Kyrie walked out of the locker room.
Yeah.
That is not most of our experience.
I tell you what, Maggie, I know you've covered a lot of like New York City area basketball, and I played New York City high school basketball, and it was so funny to read some of the quotes and see the interviews from some of the coaches in our leagues and be like, wow, I know that coach is nothing like that.
Yes, they would lie to us a lot. I get
they
that.
give you guys the most flowery thing. Our coach be like, oh, we got a great team this year. I'm like, really? He told us we suck terribly in last year. That's
my God.
You think we're the worst team in the league.
I had so many people who would just say, my high school coach changed my life. You know, so many high school football
because you're talking to pro athletes who are awesome.
And others.
No, you're not talking to scrubs. The bench warmers, the guys who got 52 the first day of practice, they don't like the coaches. To find me one out there is like, I was really appreciative of Coach Smith for benching me in the preseason and never putting me back in. Never happened. Actually, I did. My JV coach in college, I loved. He was awesome.
So there's one.
Yeah, but he was just like a 22-year-old kid who would go to the bars with us afterwards. He didn't care. This was JV basketball. It was club basketball. Nobody cared. The head coach nobody liked him. I remember that at Dartmouth.
Interesting.
I'm not calling out names. You're like Kyrie Irving.
Like you wanted to say
Kyrie Irving's coach loved him. Yeah. You think?
Sarah's asking, did Maggie not like her high school football coach? Yeah. I was not tough enough to make that team.
Well, high school, I mean, listen. You ever seen the movie Dazed and Confused?
Yeah.
Just like that. I think that's the
old
old school.
The hazing stuff.
Yeah. But basically, the coach was the bad guy. That's the high school. I mean, that was a little older, but like football coaches are always the bad guys in movies, right? Like they're never like they're always the authority figure that the teenagers rebel against because they have to be. I mean,
the John Voight and the
like the coaches.
Billy Bob Thorntons.
Every high school football movie, the coach. What's the one with Tom Cruise?
Yeah, All the Right Moves.
Yeah. By definition,
Craig T. Nelson, I think, was the coach
high school
of that
football
movie, right?
coaches are the ultimate bad guys. Show me a good one. Maybe Remember the Titans. Was that high school? Yeah.
Can we put up?
But
a
even
poll?
he was incredibly unlikely. Like the players were wanting to murder Denzel in that movie.
Can we put up a poll? Did you like your high school coach? Don't even say sport.
Yeah, it's already up.
It's already up. Did you like your high school coach? I think it doesn't matter. It's basketball, football, whatever. I played tennis. I love my coach. He didn't have to do anything. We all just it's either you win or lose. He didn't have many decisions to make. 855-212-4227. Okay. Coaching. Take center stage. Oh my gosh, guys. A travel snafu for the ages. What would you have done in this situation? We'll get to that next. It's Maggie Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. 1 minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. It is coming up fast. Week 0, baby. Some gigantic clashes in college football, including one that I had never heard of until the other day. I mean, throw out the record books when these two teams meet. I know you love this story, Maggie. Can you break down the travel issues of the big Week 0 matchup coming up?
I don't love these stories. I just am curious, like, what do you do here? So this is clearly, we're talking about Delaware State playing Hawaii in Week 0. So here's what's going on. Delaware State, obviously in Delaware, was scheduled to fly out of John F. Kennedy Airport to do a 10.5-hour flight to go to Honolulu. I think they were actually flying into Oahu, if I'm getting this correctly, according to the Honolulu Star advertiser. So the team was scheduled to fly out, but they missed the cross-country flight because of an issue with the buses. So they had to take a 3.5-hour bus to try to go to JFK Airport, probably the second busiest airport in the world after like London and maybe like Bangkok or something. And it was a snafu, missed the flight. Get this, Pearl. They're going all the way to Hawaii to play this game in Week 0, which would have kicked off at 6 o'clock local time, which means they're playing at midnight Eastern. I mean, we talk about the West Coast to East Coast body clock for NFL players. Like, it's a 1 p.m. kickoff. That's 11 a.m. for them. How are they going to adjust? This is playing at midnight in your body clock. Maybe that's better for young men. I don't know, but this is wild. So now they're working on they need a plan B.
I got to be honest. Before this story came out, I didn't really know there was a Delaware State University.
Me neither.
I know the University of Delaware in
Joe Flacco.
In Newark, Delaware. Been there. It's a huge school.
Yeah.
So Delaware is very close to Philadelphia. I had a lot of friends who went to Delaware. We didn't know much about Delaware State. They're in Dover, Delaware. I know where that is. What is their team nickname? I actually haven't.
I have it.
What is it?
The Hornets.
The Hornets
against the Rainbow Warriors.
So what's going on here? There's a Delaware State Hornets football team, and they're going to Hawaii. Forget all this. So that is amazing. I'm betting Hawaii. I got the Rainbows. What I did see something like I wonder did they take the spread offline? We got to look at that. Hold on, I'll pull up. Vamp for a second. I'll pull up my DraftKings and see what the spread is.
Well, I just want to figure out, like, did they make it or they have to reroute? Like,
but I
these
read
10.5-hour flights, this is like not nothing. This is not trying to get a connector on O'Hare.
They're still trying to go, right? Isn't that the latest report?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's changed.
EJ, you have an update for us?
Yeah, this is from WDel.com. So the team is currently staying in a New York area hotel and is exploring all commercial flight options out of the 3 major airports to get the team to Honolulu. This was posted 6 hours ago. So this is
First of all,
their life right now.
There is nothing more depressing than a hotel by the airport. I don't care what hotel you're in or what airport you're in. Because nobody there is happy. It's all people who missed their flight, wearing the same clothes from yesterday, face all shiny and gross. Hopefully you got a toothbrush with you. Yeah, the hotel by the airport's always a bad scene.
And now you got like all these like gigantic football players walking around there. People probably like, "What's going on here?"
Well, it's Delaware State. Happening? I mean, this isn't Alabama getting off the bus. But you're right. You're right, and it's just a lot of people. Like these traveling parties are pretty big, and if there are any boosters, usually they go on these trips too because that's kind of like a reward. And if I'm a booster of the Delaware State Hornets, you bet your butt I'm going to Hawaii.
Everything you just mentioned about people staying at the airport hotel, I think reflected in the betting line, Perloff, which I do have in front of me. If you'd like,
I can't get it on my app. What is it?
Hawaii favored by 39.5.
What was it originally?
I don't know.
It's creeping up for every hour that this flight is delayed. I can't believe they're going to play a game at midnight, midnight Eastern, 6 o'clock local time.
It's listed here at 11:59. I love that. We can just make it midnight. How about 11:59? Come on. Are they actually kicking that off at 59? Make sure we get it in before midnight. Midnight Eastern.
Oh, wow.
What was it? You got the original?
No, Delaware State's upcoming games are all local. They play Sacred Heart right around the corner. Wagner. Richmond, St. Francis. I was just wondering, like, is Delaware State, what division are they? So they're
HBCU, so I believe they'd be FBS.
But is Hawaii still FC? What is Hawaii? What conference are they in?
Or FCS,
Mountain West.
They're in the Mountain West still? Yeah. Okay. This is this is a tough matchup for Delaware State.
It's supposed to be a nice vacation, though, right?
Looking at the odds here. Not sure I'm going to put the life saving on the Hornets, Mag.
probably smart.
39.5.
But guys, I'm still trying to figure out why were they flying out of JFK? I'm still trying to figure that out because you have Baltimore Airport, you have the DC airport, you have Philadelphia.
Philly, yeah.
Like I'm
Probably
like
cheaper.
Do they
It's gotta
fly
be, right? 'Cause
nonstop to Hawaii from those?
I don't
They do?
think it's super easy to fly from Philly to Hawaii nonstop,
By the
BJ.
way, everything
I
out
did
of Philly
fly
is
to
more
New York
expensive.
to Hawaii. I've been to Hawaii. I couldn't fly to New York to Hawaii nonstop.
They
You'd
said
stop somewhere.
10.5-hour flight. I don't know if maybe you have a layover
Oh.
in San Francisco or LA or
Maybe.
something. But man, what a doozy. And they're still just hanging in the airport.
God.
I wish they would call in.
To
Get a little
Oh, the opening point spread was 38. So it's pretty much nobody ever gave Delaware State a chance no matter what time they got to Hawaii.
Delaware
man.
State last year 1-10. And for
Oh,
some,
jeez.
for some context, they lost to Army 57-0. So
wow.
To Army.
yeah,
They let Army get 57 points.
they
That's
did.
not good.
They're great
No.
for getting a trip to Hawaii, though.
That's what I'm saying. This is
Like, you
supposed
could
to be
lose
the
by
reward.
60. You're in Hawaii.
Yeah.
This is what they
We
call
take
the
those
Not
mind
yet.
game.
Yeah. Business trip. Like, no, guys, actually, this one's personal. Bring a bathing suit. This should be the reward. And now all of a sudden it's all, delayed because of they couldn't get to the airport in time. CeeLo is here. He's got other headlines for us. We'll keep our eye on this Delaware
What
State.
could be better than this story? I mean, geez,
poor kids.
that's awesome. All right, I want to start with a little bit more from Aaron Rodgers. First, specifically on Jets training camp this summer. Last hour, we heard him say he thinks it's the toughest camp he has been through in 7 or 8 years, all by design from his head coach, Robert Saleh.
A lot of reps for the ones. He told me the other day we were somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 more reps, I think, at this point in camp than last year, and it feels like it, but it's good. I think it's going to allow us to maybe be a little more ready.
And they'll need to be. Week 1 Monday nighter on the road against San Francisco, which brings us to the subject of joint practices, which have become increasingly more popular in recent years leading up to preseason matchups. Jets already did it with the Panthers earlier this summer, and they'll do so again this week with the Giants. Rodgers, though, not convinced it's all that beneficial.
There's a fear among all the staffs on, like, how much can we show? What should we hold back? What are we actually going to run for this session?
Because it's an incestuous league, he says.
It's a who do you know coaching business. So everybody talks to each other, and if somebody doesn't like somebody, somebody has a friend on the Niners staff, maybe they're going to tell them something about something that we run. I think that's the fear.
I mean, what are we doing here?
I mean, you got a big problem if you've got a mole in your staff. Like, that's...
They did have last year.
He's saying they're going up against the Giants today.
Yeah.
So there's someone on the Giants staff.
Oh, who could be
He's
talking
got
to
a
the
grudge.
49ers.
Exactly.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Last year?
Was
Sorry.
there not a mole with like Tim Boyle and other stuff and the assistant GM?
Oh, well,
was leaking everything.
The Jets have had leaks
Oh,
forever.
yeah, that place is it's
he's
a
paranoid
ship
now.
at the bottom of the ocean. That's how leaky this thing is.
But they're talking about the teams coming in. So, like,
Right,
they
right.
faced the Panthers earlier. Hey, does someone from Carolina have a friend that they're going to face week 1, San Francisco? Hey, we saw this in the joint practice.
Well, isn't there rumors out that Kyle Shanahan won't do any play calling in joint practices or preseason because he's afraid of people figuring out his stuff?
Yeah, it's Kubiak who's calling the plays.
One of the Kubiak kids is calling the plays because Kyle wants to hide all his stuff now. Even in joint practice, I think Aaron's right. I was wondering about these joint practices, Okay,
but here's a question for you, right? So, all right. Yes, you want to be disguising all of your stuff.
Especially him.
You don't want anyone to know your game plan. I also can pretty much tell it's going to McCaffrey a lot. Like that.
Ooh, I don't know.
There's also like your best players are your best players, aren't they? Like we know they're going to be getting the ball.
Well, Shanahan's the one guy, like, everybody watches Kyle Shanahan's plays, right? Isn't that the thing in the league now? Everyone's trying to beat Kyle Shanahan.
Jeff Fisher told us that.
And Shanahan's got to mix it up a little bit. The other thing, too, is something about Shanahan, I think it felt a little predictable towards the end last year. Like, he got off to slow starts in all the playoff games. I think Shanahan has every reason to hide his playbook, right?
Which is
That's
funny.
a one coach. Nothing on the Jets. Like Nathaniel Hackett, he could show whatever he wants.
Yeah.
No one's copying that.
Well, also Rodgers changing every play
Right.
at the line of scrimmage
Exactly.
anyway. But here's
Right.
it's like the difference between like the Chiefs. It's just like, Mahomes definitely doing the behind the back pass in a preseason. Just like, let's get this on film. Not that you're going to be able to defend against it. Good luck. But like the moment you get out to week 1, it's now on tape. For the most part, whatever you were holding, isn't it just out there now?
I
I
don't
think
so
it's
at all.
matchup specific.
Yeah.
So there's things they'll install in camp that
Yeah.
they may not use until later in the year, but you don't necessarily have to run those plays
Yeah, right. Just do
against
something vanilla.
another team. Right. you can run your base stuff in the joint practice. You get a chance to go up against. They always say, "Oh, if finally can hit someone other than our own teammates."
Right.
Well, isn't that what Rodgers is saying? We're just running base stuff because we're being cautious.
I think
about
essentially,
this. But I mean, we
there's
know
a balance.
we've watched preseason football. Like they never run anything for that. Why do you think they do that?
Yeah, the paranoia.
They don't want to put anything on tape for anybody.
Yes,
and the paranoia runs really deep. Obviously,
I don't think it's paranoia. I mean, I think it's. The paranoia implies that you shouldn't do that way.
Right.
Obviously, you don't show any of your plays to the public before they get out there.
No, but Rodgers is saying, like, he's kind of implying there's something nefarious going on. Like, you have someone who has an axe to grind at a different team, and then they're going to call their pal and their buddy. Like,
he's saying that's why
they don't
run your
what I was hearing too is
stuff.
Right, I was hearing like a joint practice is the same as a preseason game. If you put it out in a joint practice, nobody's keeping that quiet. Like, which actually makes sense. I have wondered about those joint practices. Like, I don't know. What is with joint practices? That's like the new thing now.
Yeah.
Everybody's having them. Yeah,
the team you're playing that week in the preseason. It's an extension of the preseason game.
Right. It's replaced preseason game. So the coaches put their starters out for the joint practices, and they're like, that's enough.
But the quarterbacks are wearing the red jerseys, so
it's
you
controlled.
can't touch them.
Yeah. So that's interesting.
That's what the Falcons are doing with Penix Jr. At least that's what Raheem Morris said.
Yeah.
Interesting you brought up Mahomes. That leads me to this. So we yesterday had the conversation about him trying to cement GOAT status, right? If he gets the 3-peat with the Chiefs. Here was Travis Kelce on Pardon My Take talking about how he knew very early on just how good Mahomes was going to be and had a very specific example to illustrate that.
His best plays might have been on that scout team going against the number one defense his rookie year. The he was doing in those practices was mind blowing. He had no filter. He was just out there like, oh well, this doesn't matter. I can just throw it over here. Just right. Just the defense is just demoralized in practice. They're like, what the f? This kid's dicing us up right now, and you know what I mean. And all these are scouted looks. We know what's coming.
So basically, they're running cards, like a card session where he's the scout team offense, and the defense literally knows what play is coming.
Yeah.
And he's still completing passes all over the place. Like sometimes they have scout team quarterbacks throw the ball up on purpose to be picked off. That happens in these practices. And he's just, whatever. And he's, throwing dimes all over the field.
When you hear that kind of stuff, you realize, was there a bit of restraint on Andy Reid not to put him out there that first year? I know they were a playoff team with Alex Smith, but still.
Well, can you imagine Alex Smith, kind of looking over behind us, like, wait, what's going on over there?
I'm out of here.
That's not good.
Yeah.
I've heard stories. There was a story of back when freshmen couldn't play at UCLA, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar arrived at UCLA and was on the freshman team, and the freshman team would whoop the real team who had just won the national title, and nobody could cover Kareem. That's just it must not be a good feeling for the incumbent to have Patrick Mahomes on the
Pretty
sideline.
humbling, right? Yeah, no doubt. Baseball, the Mets failing to capitalize on Monday's walk-off win over the Orioles. They fell apart defensively last night in the Baltimore TV broadcast. We're sure to let them know about it.
Doris playing right on the base.
Shot the other way in the left. Nimmo got a great jump, and it's off his glove. It kicks behind him. It's sitting behind the tarp. Mullins will come in to score. And then Young throws down to third, throws it away. It's off the tarp, backed up by Nimmo. Here comes Mountcastle. He scores. Throw to third, not in time. It's an absolute mess.
I saw that headline last night. I'm like, wait, did a player on the Mets say that about their own team after the game? They ripped it right from the TV broadcast, and then they really went for the jugular here.
2-run score on a Little League play full of wild throws and boneheaded mistakes, and the Orioles get two back. METS mess. It's 9-5.
Having a field day. That turned out to be the final as Baltimore got even in the series. Rubber game coming up this afternoon. I guess fitting for the Mets because we learned Sunday they're going to be in the Little League Classic next year. So they give you a little of that Little League defense there against the Orioles last night. Awesome. Padres won again, 7-5 atop the Twins. That's now 22-6 since the All-Star break for San Diego, but still can't shake the reigning NL champion Diamondbacks, who are just a game behind them for the top wild card spot in the NL. Lastly, if you had Lane Kiffin giving out dietary advice on your Tuesday bingo card, you are a winner.
Does anybody drink Coke? You realize that 130% of your sugar for the entire day is in this one bottle.
And if you weren't sure about the 130%, he had some more specifics for you.
65 grams of sugar. When was the last time you had a Coke? A long time. I don't know. Chris Lowe drinks Coke, though. I do know that.
Just shaming media members there at the
Goodness.
conference.
Yeah.
Right under the bus.
So Lane Kiffin went through a transformation a couple years ago. He lost all this weight. And doesn't he now remind you of the person who either loses weight or has some kind of breakthrough in their life and just can't wait to tell you about it?
Yes.
And it's like, how could you be eating this stuff? It's like, dude, you were eating it 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Good for you. You've seen the light, but you don't have to now be proselytizing about it. You can get off the soapbox. If someone wants to drink a Coke, just let them drink it, You drank plenty of them, I'm sure, back in the day.
Right.
Does anyone have people like this in their life?
Oh, yeah. I've experienced that.
Yeah, right.
Right.
It's like, no, I, started jogging and you got to get out there. It's like, don't tell me what to do.
Now you're an expert. They become an expert.
You go jog.
Right.
You want to jog, you go jog. You do Pilates, knock yourself out. But you should do this. I hate when it gets to that.
Don't shame me now just because you're doing it.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And also, who knows? Lane Kiffin could put the 30 pounds back on. Hopefully he doesn't. Good for him. But come on.
By the way, I think someone's not happy about this as well. It's going to be Ole Miss, who probably just lost their Coca-Cola sponsor. The bottle is only there on the podium because they have a Coca-Cola sponsor. And he just picks up the bottle and is like, you guys really drink this crap?
Yeah, he's like,
what's wrong with you people?
Yeah, you can drink this rat poison? Yeah, no, they probably don't like it as a product placement for Coca-Cola.
Can I ask a more important question here?
Yeah.
Is Diet Coke bad for you? Does anyone know?
I think
Google that.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be, I think.
The artificial
do you put
sweetener,
on the
right?
same amount of weight drinking Diet Coke as Coke? Because I've heard that, but then I've heard the opposite as well.
I think it hits you in a different way. I don't know about the weight. I think it's just I think there's stuff in there that might not be the best for you.
Right, but I don't care about all the stuff that, chemicals and stuff. Am I going to lose weight by drinking Diet Coke?
You might lose your life.
Yeah.
Right.
No, but
Does
if you lose weight, you are giving yourself a much better chance to live a longer time. So that's the most important thing. That's CeeLo, are you kidding?
In the short term,
No. Weight is the number one enemy to every disease.
But it's pick your poison here, not literally. But if you're putting all this stuff, the bad stuff in your body, that's at some point going to take a toll. Did you guys see Josh Allen giving an interview with Chris Long about how he's lost weight? And he was talking about, I got a private chef. And also he's dipping. He's I don't know if I can say this, but he's doing those Swedish nicotine patches that apparently are very popular. Zanes, something like that. I was
how does that work with weight loss?
That curbs your appetite, just like smoking would.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, whatever works.
That's a hell of an admission. It's and I picked up dip. Usually don't say that.
No. Yeah, that right.
It's kind of this dirty secret of sports. Is a lot of people dip.
Sort of the opposite of what you just said. People, hey, you got to get on this jogging thing. Hey, you got to start dipping.
You'll see Swedish caffeine pouches, nicotine pouches.
Shame people into getting into the tobacco. Awesome, or nicotine patches. Yeah, hi.
That's crazy. But no, Perloff, I don't have an answer for you on whether.
So, by the way, I think you guys have it right. It's not the chemicals. Your body is fooled into thinking it's drinking real Coke and reacts the same exact way, and you put on the same exact amount of weight. That's what the body doesn't know that it's diet and thinks so, and it slows down your metabolism, so it doesn't even work. I wouldn't care about it. Yeah, I think you guys should Google Diet Coke.
I don't drink it, but
you don't?
No.
You
drink a lot of Diet Dr. Pepper. I know that.
It's the best drink ever.
Noticed.
Yeah. Do you have some?
So if the diet sodas don't work,
well, that's what
and
they
don't
know.
Taste as good. Why do people? Because they just think it works. They don't do the research. Is that where we're at?
We don't know.
I think some people like the taste though.
More so than the regular.
Well, the regular stuff is just put that in biggest vein. If you haven't had a regular Coke in a long time and then you drink one, it's the most refreshing, amazing thing ever.
They had one.
Can I give an unpopular take here?
Yeah.
Pepsi over Coke.
I mean, that's fair. You're allowed to have that take.
Sweeter, just goes down better.
I think Coke put out, I don't know if it's still out, it was Coke plus caffeine. It was a coffee and Coke together. I mean, you want to talk about, you just said stick that in the biggest vein. I mean, it was sinful. Sweet, and you get the caffeine like a coffee, and it was just like a rocket ship.
Man, remember our childhood when they were messing around? It was crystal clear Pepsi. And trying to do all these gimmicky things. No, just give us the hard stuff, man.
The original.
You don't have to. Yeah. Maybe a little cherry flavor. Maybe. CeeLo, thank you. 855-212-4227. Have Coke. It's fine. Coming up, okay, lots more to do, including one team making a surprise move with their rookie quarterback. We'll get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Well, Peter Bellatti's packing up his desk. He's leaving Maggie and Perloff with a twist. No more laughs and no more morning fun. He's headed out the door, but the show must go on. Goodbye, Belatti, we'll miss your crazy flair. You're off to new adventures, don't forget your chair. No more coffee runs, no more early rise. But don't worry, Pete, we'll keep your spirit alive. He's been the heart and soul of this crazy crew. Now Maggie's scratching her head, Perloff's feeling blue. Who's gonna crack those jokes, keep the show in? Well, Peter Bellatti's moving on today. He's joining Amy Lawrence, found a new way. No more curmudgeon takes to make us all laugh, but we'll miss that thick bracket, your signature craft. Goodbye, Belatti, with your grumpy style. The John Sterling drop always made us smile. Off to new horizons, but don't you forget Maggie and Perloff's crew will never let you set. You had that Sterling drop, it was always on cue. Now Amy Lawrence gets the pleasure, it's true. But who's gonna grumble when the show's running late? Without the Lodi's charm, it just won't feel as great. Goodbye, Belatti, with your grumpy style. The John Sterling drop always made us smile. Off to new horizons, but don't you forget Maggie and Perloff's crew will never let you set. So here's to you, Pete, the man with the takes. We'll miss you in the mornings, those curmudgeon breaks. But as you join Amy, we'll all tune in to hear your gruff charm. Let the new show begin. Goodbye, Belatti, the big rocket king. Your next chapter starts, but your praises will sing. Keep on bringing those drops and that unique flair. Maggie and Perloff's crew will never let you set. We'll never let you set.
1 minute remaining.
Loves Brady, but not just for his 3-point spree. It's the water slide that makes him cheer. Durant splashing down without fear. Kevin Durant on a water slide, laughing all the way, taking a wild ride. Not just a baller, he's got
30 seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
A lot of conversation about coaches going on this week because of Tua calling out Brian Flores, his former coach. We just asked you on X at Maggie Pearl, did you like your high school coach? College and pros a little bit different, kind of different calculus. Did you like your high school coach? Perloff, 63% saying yes, they did like their high school coach. You said nobody likes their high school coach.
Wow, okay. I guess I was wrong. I didn't like my high school coaches. EJ didn't like his high school coaches. Botcher, you said you liked your high school coach?
Yeah.
What's
and outside of it,
baseball? Huh.
Let's go to Kevin. He's in San Antonio. Kevin, did you like your high school coach?
I love my high school coach. My high school coach, I played football. I played mostly sports, but football was the best coach. Every time we get ready for a game, he put us into this building, the ROTC building.
Yeah.
And cut the lights off, and he played General Patton motivation tapes in there.
Oh my gosh, that's kind of intense.
It was intense. I mean, it fires us up, and oh man, we get loaded up on the bus, we ready to play.
Wow, Kevin, thank you. General Patton motivational stuff.
Nothing better. Brian Flores has a little General Patton in him.
He's taking notes. It's General Belichick, really, I think, is probably the
Which is, by the way,
inspiration.
we didn't even get into the fact that Tua's coach next year is going to be Bill Belichick.
Oh, my gosh. What's Belichick going to have in store if he replaces Mike McDaniel?
Belichick, by the way, did not hate all his quarterbacks. He wanted to keep Jimmy G around.
Yeah, it was just Tom Brady who he kept criticizing.
Yeah. I don't even think like he should have criticized Mac Jones more. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. Anyway,
I have a funny story, not my own story, but about my uncle. My uncle Wayne, I've told you guys about, played football in high school, and he said before every game, the coach would line up all the kids, and the coach would punch everybody in the stomach. Now this is old school.
That is really old school.
Yeah.
Like just punch, like gut punch them?
Yeah, kind of. Like get them ready for the game. This was a long time ago, obviously.
Yeah.
This wouldn't fly now. But yeah, everyone line everybody up and punch everybody in the stomach one after the other.
Sometimes I'll have my kids, like, I'm like, I'll make like my ab muscles and be like to Lucy and Emma, I'm like, God, hit me. You know, when they were like 5 years old.
Yeah.
They're like, bam. But
what were you getting psyched up for?
No. Just because like it makes you feel tough when like someone punches you in the stomach and it doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
right.
right. Little 5-year-old fist.
Yeah. I mean, you know what I mean. Like, have you ever had anyone just hit you in the stomach?
That's generally not
All
part
right.
of my day.
You can hit me right now.
I will not do that.
I mean, don't take me out. Don't put me in the hospital. But just go ahead. Just give me a little. Like, I'm sure the coach wasn't giving you everything he had.
All right. Well, youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity. I did not think this is where today was going, but sure. Okay.
Just give me your best shot.
Okay. All right. I'm going to punch Perloff in the stomach.
Go.
I'm going to hurt my hand.
Oh, and these abs, you sure are, baby.
Okay, ready?
Right. Come on. Oh, jeez.
I'm sorry. You said come on.
Now I'm fine.
I'm not exactly like Shane Mosley, you know.
This should be a pre-show ritual now.
We all line up and punch each other in the stomach.
By the way, Uncle Wayne, how'd the team do? Like, first we have to find out how the team did.
I don't think they won a game.
Oh, okay.
Not sure. I didn't hurt you, did I? You're strong.
No.
Good shape.
That did not hurt.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, I was really straining to make every muscle. You didn't hit me that hard. The thing about getting hit in the stomach, if you know it's coming, it's a much better situation. When you get accidentally.
That's true.
And there's other places where we do not want to get hit.
Yeah, the kidneys.
Like the old ESPN joke. Who's the Lakers GM again? Mitch?
Yeah.
Kupchak? Yes, that the old.
What you guys have to deal with.
Yeah, no, it's constant. You never know. Did you guys see? This is
it's constant.
You know,
sheesh.
And then there's the NFL, which they always get hit on the backside. We can't do that and get away with it.
No.
Even Roger Goodell does that. That's a bit. It's the ultimate. You know, that's a thing, right? You've seen it.
I don't know how they're getting away with all this. Though.
Yeah.
It's guys being guys, you know?
I think if you're wearing pads, the rules are different.
Yeah, I don't. This is your thing, guys. I don't really get it. Well, just punch Perloff in the stomach. I didn't want to do that today. It's Wednesday, which means we've got the great debate for you next.
Get it with Snoop to your double chill on the beat. Paris got a problem, Mickey Cully ain't discreet. Olympics coming fast, but the water's not neat. Gotta clean it up, make the competition sweet. Snoop's in the house and he's laying it down. In Paris where the river's supposed to wear the crown. But there's trouble in the water, yeah, it's going around. While Peter Buddy's on the sideline, I'm making a sound. Now Peter Bellotti ain't fazed by the fuss. While the city's in a hurry, he's missing the bus. Olympic fever high and everyone's a rush. Peter's laid back in the calm, no crush. Athletes train hard, dreams big, they trust. While Peter's in his world, the side lives robust. Paris may hustle, sparkle and bust, but Peter Bellotti's mind is clear from Olympic dust. As the world tunes in for the gold, the glory, Peter's got other tales, another story. Not about the races or the podium's top. He's cool in the shadows where he doesn't flop. Back to Snoop with a message so clear, trying to fix the waters before the Olympians cheer. Yet there's Peter Bellotti sipping on his beer. Olympics might roar, but Peter just doesn't hear. In a city famed for lights, art and more, Peter Bellotti finds his peace not keeping the score. While rowers row and swimmers soar, Peter's vibe is different on his own shore. So as we close this rap, take it from Snoop, we're all in this game, in every group. But remember our man Peter Bellotti, unique in the troop, marching to his beat in his own loop. Get it with Snoop to your double chill on the beat. Paris got a problem, Mickey Cully ain't discreet. Olympics coming fast, but the water's not neat. Gotta clean it up, make the competition sweet. Snoop's in the house and he's laying it down. In Paris where the river's supposed to wear.
Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
It's game week, guys. Week 0, college football upon us. Welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. We're so excited because college football is going to kick off, and then we're underway. And so we turn to college football, Perloff, today for the great debate.
Let's go.
Let's hit it, Ryan.
The Great Debate Series.
All right. Today, in honor of college football, right at our doorstep, we're asking you, what is the greatest college football tradition of all time?
So tough.
This is hard.
This was so hard.
Why don't you start us off?
Well, can I just sit? I was torn between two.
How could you not be torn between 10? Yeah.
Well, I was torn between 3. One I thought would get me in trouble, so I avoided. The second one, I did a lot of research last night. I don't know if you did. I read the backstory of the second one was so lame that I decided to go with my local choice, which is Penn State football's whiteout.
Yep.
Because visually, there is nothing cooler than a sea of white in Beaver Stadium out in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania. It's just like you drive up, and it is all encompassing. So, and the backstory of this is pretty cool. Basically, they had a 2004 game against Nebraska, and they were worried that all the red from Nebraska would wash out the Penn State fans. So they had everyone wear blue. Somehow, then they wore blue again and got killed. So, let's try white. This is just a great college football fan behavior. And then they won a big game in white. They're like, let's keep on doing white. So they think like sports fans, and it's just such a cool visual. I actually have been to one whiteout game at Penn State. Didn't even know it was a whiteout game. I was doing, I can't remember. I think I was doing our SI Heisman tour.
Yep.
And it was so cool. You could feel it the whole game, the energy of that. Jumped onto the field, and they won that game. They've won some big games. They famously beat Ohio State in 2016. To me, that is right now the coolest one going.
Okay, but here's the question I have for you about the Penn State whiteout. When did this start?
2005 officially.
This is new. I'm giving you a college football tradition. Today's great debate. The greatest college football tradition, the one I'm choosing, started in 1890, and that's Army, Navy. We all know it.
The streak has ended. Let's watch the alma maters.
Vernal Lundquist, man, miss him already. And that was from the 2016 game. The reason why I think Army-Navy is the greatest is obviously the symbolism of the service academies playing against each other, but then coming together at the end of the game, singing both alma maters is really cool, and you're doing it in front of each other's fans, so you have this great moment of solidarity. The president usually shows up, so it's a really huge deal. And then I like the other little touches here, the Go Army Beat Navy, the Go Navy Beat Army, the prisoner swap, where they have the people from different service academies who are doing a semester on each other's campuses. They formally put them back, sort of where they belong, if you will. And this amazing tradition. And the fact that it goes all the way back to 1890, the fact that it means so much more than just football, this, to me, without a doubt, hands down, greatest college football tradition.
I like the push-ups, too.
Yeah.
Those are awesome. Yeah, that's fun.
This is our great debate for today, the greatest college football traditions. Go ahead, EJ.
I'll be honest. Usually I fight hard for my traditions. I feel like you guys have two great ones. My mom's probably upset that Pearl took Penn State, being she's a Penn State alma mater. So sorry, Mom. But I'm going to go in the Big Ten, staying in the Big Ten. And I'm going to go with a tradition that I think really encompasses what's great about America. Ryan, hit it.
651 days.
That is Camp Randall, Wisconsin. You're talking about the Jump Around House of Pain song playing as they head into the fourth quarter. That was Gus Johnson. That was the first game after the COVID lockdown where they finally, with all the crowds back, got to go back to that tradition. And I love this one because as a hip hop fan myself, I don't think there's any chance that House of Pain in Los Angeles, when they were making this song, thought that there'd be 100,000 kids from Madison, Wisconsin, jumping around in a stadium, getting pumped for a fourth quarter of a Big Ten football game. Like, no way did that ever come across in their imagination. And look how far we've come. As Biggie said, look, hip hop is taking this far. Like, it's just, I think it's just awesome. I think it's really cool. I love that the Wisconsin folks have embraced it as part of that tradition that started in 1998. And what I love about traditions is I like it when it actually strokes fear in the other team. Like, not only does it hype up your team, but the other team sees this crazy scene happening, and you're like, oh man, we're in for a dogfight. I don't know what they do when they're kind of getting blown out, but Wisconsin usually is a pretty good team, so typically the games are close. I think it's just a great home field advantage. I want to be there one day to see it, so I'm going with Wisconsin's Jump Around at Camp Randall in the fourth quarter.
Didn't really help Graham Mertz much, though.
Maybe House of Pain come up with another song. They were in our one-hit wonder bracket, by the way, and I thought Jump Around was going to actually go a little further. Maybe that it did.
Do they have two songs or do they have one song?
They got one.
They got one?
Yeah,
okay.
they got one. It's Jump Around. It's a great song. We're doing the greatest college football traditions today is our great debate. Go ahead, Ryan.
So, no, I don't want to copy EJ here, but I'm going with crowd striking fear into the opponents. And I think Jump Around it's okay, but you have this song here by Metallica with Virginia Tech. It doesn't stand a chance.
When you get to the tunnel and Enter Sandman starts, you feel the whole stadium in the tunnel.
I know as a recruit, I remember they used to say, hey man, we can feel, sometimes you walk, you feel the ground shake. I'm like, ground shake? I don't believe that. And I got the experience that I walked out, people yelling, and I felt the ground vibrating, and I was like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so no bias here. Metallica fan, not a Virginia Tech fan, of course, but I love the entrance. Strikes fear into everyone's eyes and hearts when they hear that song and everything starts shaking.
It's a great college football tradition.
Yeah.
I love Metallica. To me, though, it's Mariano.
Yeah,
I know
it's
it's Virginia Tech, but it's also Mariano.
It's a little bit borrowed. You're right. Like
There's two.
But when you say that, what's the best Enter Sandman celebration? Everyone thinks of Mariano running in. It's not a celebration, but so that's a little tricky.
But it's a good one because that song is just an all-timer. Chris Lopresti's in with us, so you get to participate in our great debate, greatest college football tradition, CeeLo.
Nothing fear-inducing for me. Not quite as old as Maggie's with Army-Navy, but it's about 90 years or so.
Okay.
I was a saxophone player in middle school in the
here.
jazz band, right? When I got to high school, it was bad enough Mom and Dad wouldn't allow me to try out for the football team. I decided I couldn't then further disappoint myself and join the marching band. But I do have great respect for the marching bands. So for me, when I think about college football and the great tradition of many different marching bands, I got to go Ohio State. Spelling out Ohio, dotting the I, the pomp and circumstance, the spectacle of that whole situation, and the cool thing of having sometimes the celebrities or alumni come and take part in dotting the I. There's the great video out there on YouTube of the one guy, the cameraman's up close, and he actually hits him with the instrument as he's going there to finish off dotting the I. So I think of marching bands, I think of Ohio State, I think of their fight song, and just kind of that wide, from above view of seeing the marching band spell out a lot of different things, not just Ohio or Ohio State, but that's the one that comes to mind for me. Maybe not the most, like I said, fear-inducing or true college football on-the-field thing, but I got a lot of respect for the marching bands, and that one's pretty cool in my eyes.
It is great, and the fact they're spelling it out in cursive, it's not even the block lettering, which probably is
high degree of difficulty.
Imagine a lot easier.
Yes.
Yeah, the cursive's got to be hard. All right, so that's That's what we got today. Greatest college football traditions. I mean, you're right, Pearl. We could have gone a million different ways here. There's nobody picked a live mascot. I mean, we all there were a lot of those.
Ryan told me I couldn't do Florida State. That was a Ryan Botcher call.
Ryan?
Not much to say.
Producer chops there, just like you might want to stay away from this one.
I told him you could do Oklahoma. There's a carriage and horses. It's pretty cool.
Well, Florida State is really wild, but it is, I think, controversial because it's a
Native American imagery,
right?
Yeah.
But the Seminoles reportedly signed off on it, but it's still you watch it like, wow, are they allowed to do that? But it gets them amped. Howard's Rock was one I looked at a lot, but then I looked at the backstory of Howard's Rock. It was a gift to the coach, and he used it as a doorstop for many years. And he's like, I got to get this thing out of my office and put it by the field. And now everyone touches it. Is that?
That's what you said was lame? A lame
that
backstory?
was kind of a lame backstory. I mean, that is really cool. They touch the rock. They come in and I don't know. I just I think I like the ones like Jump Around and the White Owl where it just and frenzy. Like that's what you need. Frenzy, like just madness. Everyone's about to rush the field. Well, Wisconsin, which is sometimes not ideal. But generally, though, I like the get hype thing.
855-212-4227. So there you have it, the greatest college football traditions. I went with Army-Navy. Perloff went with the Penn State Whiteout. EJ going with Jump Around by House of Pain for Wisconsin. Ryan going with Enter Sandman for Virginia Tech. And CeeLo going with the Ohio State Marching Band and Dotting the I. Man, I mean, there's so many here that we left off. Can I tell you a couple that, one or two that I've been able to witness? So they might not be my favorite, but I have been able to, I've gotten the privilege of being able to go in the Notre Dame locker room and seeing Play Like a Champion today. And you're like, wow, I can't believe I'm here looking at the sign, especially because the stadium is pretty, no frills. This is not some state-of-the-art, it's pretty, kind of standard. It's pretty. The campus of Notre Dame is gorgeous. But when you see the Play Like a Champion, it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm actually here for this. I think sunsetting on the Rose Bowl is not like, that's like God providing that, but it's still a great tradition. It's always gorgeous.
That is a good one.
It's just a million,
Yeah. That one you can see on TV is really cool. Are the cheers like the Gator Chomp? Is that a tradition?
Absolutely.
That's a tradition or sort of a practice?
I think so.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So 855-212-4227. You can weigh in, and you can also weigh in on X at Maggie and Pearl. Of course, we're on youtube.com/Infinity Sportsnet, twitch.tv/Infinity Sports Network. And yeah, greatest college football traditions. You might as well just take the phone call here. Dominic is up in San Francisco. Dom, the greatest college football tradition is what?
I don't know if you'd call it a tradition, but it should be, and that's when you're watching any Notre Dame football game and they show touchdown Jesus.
Yeah. It's amazing. I've been able to see that too, and it's right there, right across from the stadium, and you see it, and these are the kind of things you feel privileged because you watch them on TV for your whole life, and then if you actually get to witness it, it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm standing in front of this thing. It's just lording over the stadium, and this sort of totem, and incredible. Yeah, Dominic, thank you. Appreciate that. Let's go to Dana's in California. Dana, the greatest college football tradition is what?
I think Dominic just took the wind out of my sails, but I was going to say Iowa, the wave from the stadium to the Children's Hospital that's adjacent to the stadium. I don't think it gets any better than that.
Dana, you're absolutely right. That is the goosebumps that happen when you see that tradition of waving to the children who are in the Children's Hospital is so unique to Iowa and also just incredible. All the feels when that happens. Dana, thank you so much for that one. We did talk about that, Iowa, and waving to the children in the hospital.
You know what? I was thinking about one we didn't do. I love the showy marching bands, like the ones that perform. Those are sick. I don't know. You always,
like Florida A&M,
yeah,
right?
Florida A&M. I was wondering. I just was looking at Florida. I think they call the school something a little different now, but those are really cool because the dot to I. CeeLo just walked away. The dot to I, like it's.
It's great.
It's great. But right, the level of difficulty, as CeeLo pointed out, I don't know, maybe that particular move, but like, is that the best? the best marching band, because there's some amazing marching bands.
I know, but there are amazing marching bands, and for some of the HBCUs and stuff, they're incredible. I have to admit, though, I do stick around for halftime to watch them dot the I for
Really?
State. I do, yeah.
Did you ever see the movie Drumline with Michael B. Jordan when he was in what? That's a great movie.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I think they're better marching bands. I'm looking at a list of the best marching bands. That's Ohio State, USC, and Purdue is the best ones. Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think, definitely Ohio State has got to be one of them. 855-212-4227. All right, that's the great debate today. The greatest college football traditions. Guys, week 0, we're here. Florida State, Georgia Tech in Dublin. Not exactly one of the oldest traditions, but kind of new tradition, I guess. Didn't Notre Dame play in Dublin last year?
They've been going to Dublin for a while. Didn't Nebraska disappoint us all in Dublin at one point recently?
It's great. 855-212-4227. Let us know what you think.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. "30 seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back, Maggie and Perloff. Doing greatest college football traditions. You can weigh in with yours, 855-212-4227. What about all the silly conference winning or rivalry winning things like the Oak and Barrel and all those things? Yeah. We didn't get a lot of those season-ending ones. Those are always kind of fun.
Yeah, the rivalry games and...
what you get afterwards.
Yep. I mean... Listen, you're welcome to weigh in at 855-212-4227. I went with Army Navy. Perloff went to Penn State's Whiteout. EJ went with Jump Around. Ryan went with Metallica. Enter Sandman from Virginia Tech. And CeeLo went with Ohio State and Dot in the Eye. We've had a couple great ones. But yeah, the Egg Bowls and the Iron Bowls or just like the axe that they literally give out and stuff like that.
I know. It's like, who invents these things? That's like...
they all have a backstory.
They all have a backstory that never makes any sense. Like Howard's Rock, I thought this rock was there the day they found a Clemson. No, it was like some weird gift.
Yeah, right.
That just got stuck out there. And the fact that mine, the Whiteout, started out as a blue out and then they didn't play well. Yeah. It's just great.
The Civil War. We have with Oregon State. I mean, there's so many great... For the rivalry stuff, there's incredible.
Yeah. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan. I'm sure if you're a Michigan fan, you're like, everybody loves Dot the I. I'm like, I know one school that doesn't like Dot the I.
That's true. I've also been to Auburn before, so I've seen the rolling the Tumors Corner where the toilet paper and everyone throws all the toilet paper there.
Yeah, it's funny. It's cool. I've been there too. I didn't think it was that much of a thing.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, I'm just saying, Tumors Corner, it's physically not as imposing as I thought. I thought it was some giant
smaller than you thought.
It's just like a corner in Auburn.
Yeah, right next to the soda fountain place. There's a restaurant a famous restaurant there. The name's Tumors Corner, obviously, and you go in, you get it's like
lunch. It's funny. So hit us with yours. Now you went to GW. What was the big tradition there? You didn't have a football team.
No football team. Was there a tradition? We had a fight song. That was about it. Played it every once in a while. So here's something also when it comes to college. I saw this great story every year that Brett McMurphy, who covers college football, writes about the college football coaches with the best and worst handicaps, like the best and worst head coaches in terms of golf. And Dan Lanning of Oregon, he told this amazing story. So Dan Lanning is not a good golfer. He's got like a 16 handicap or something. Or maybe that's fine. He's just not like Trent Dilfer is like a 1 handicap. Like he's really, really good.
Oh, yeah,
Dan Lanning is like a 16 or whatever. So,
which, by the way, is not for a normal human being. It's not that bad.
Fine. So apparently Lanning actually has made a hole-in-one in his life, but he did it at the Hay. It's a 61-yard 7th hole named after Jack Nicklaus at Pebble Beach's 9-hole par 3 course. So Pebble Beach has a 9-hole par 3 course, and Dan Lanning actually hit a hole-in-one there. And so there was a big question about, does that count? Right? Like you're on a par 3 course. Does that count?
Got a lot of shots.
Right. So Dan Lanning apparently was texted Tiger Woods and asked him, does this count?
Okay.
And Tiger wrote back, according to this article by Brett McMurphy, he goes, yes, it counts. I also made my first hole-in-one on a par 3 course when I was 8. and that's what he responded.
Yeah.
That's Tiger
Fair.
Woods responding to Dan Lanning.
Yeah. No, I'm still sure Dan Lanning is so psyched about this story. How he got his name inserted in a Tiger Woods golf story.
Or texting with Tiger Woods.
What a claim to fame.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a little what's going on with that.
If Dan Lanning had taken, now correct me if I'm wrong. No, is it if you take the job at a certain school, you get an automatic entry into Augusta, right? I think it's South Carolina. Is that there's a college where that Augusta, it's really hard to become a member at Augusta.
Almost impossible.
And I believe that one of the SEC schools, if you get to be the head coach, I believe you get to be in Augusta, or at least play in Augusta.
Oh, that's
Football head
interesting.
coach?
Yeah, I believe. I could be making this up.
That sounds like a tradition. I could believe that tradition.
Well, there must be somebody who organized. What's the? I've never been down to the Masters. What's the club called? Is it just called the Augusta National?
Yeah, Augusta National Golf Club.
Okay, and it's like the hardest thing in the world to get a membership.
Yeah, no, this is like the president of IBM and stuff who gets to, be a member at Augusta.
Okay, do your updates. I will get more to this backstory.
So I know another random one. This is just random. If you win a college football, you win the NCAA tournament. If you are a college basketball coach who wins the NCAA tournament, you automatically get a lifetime membership to the New York Racket Club. Like New York Health Club, whatever. Like
random,
like so random. Because once I was covering a Maryland practice or something, and Gary Williams was there, and I was like, "How did you pick?" It was New York Athletic Club. I'm like, how'd you pick New York Athletic Club to come and practice? He's like, "Well, I'm a lifetime member." I was like, "How?" He's like, "If anyone who wins a national championship, you're a lifetime member." New York Athletic Club. That's what it was.
Very strange.
There's got to be some other weird perks that. go on.
I'm very intrigued about this Augusta National thing now. I've never heard that one about the football job.
Okay, so Steve Spurrier took the job. The Washington Post reported that Hootie Johnson, remember the famous president of the Augusta Golf National Club,
Shook
and
his finger
former
at Tiger
South
Woods.
Carolina fullback, was involved in negotiations with Spurrier, himself an avid golfer. And he said that Hootie says Spurrier is not guaranteed a membership if he becomes a head coach, but apparently he was invited to play once a year, every year he was there. Because there was a rumor that part of the negotiation was that Spurrier goes to USC and they give him the job. I mean, they give him the membership. But he got to play once a year. And then Spurrier said that when he left, he wasn't sure if he'd ever get into Augusta again.
Oh, that's a grudge.
Yeah, I feel like Steve Spurrier is famous enough to play at Augusta, but I don't know.
Well, I would think Steve Spurrier would have a good shot of being a member at Augusta, wouldn't he?
I think knowing a member that could get him on as a guest.
The way I'm reading the story is like, man, it is not easy to get a membership at Augusta.
No.
I think it's crazy.
It is not easy. It is definitely. It's one of the more exclusive private memberships I think there is in golf.
So anyway, Hootie Johnson, Hootie Johnson's not there anymore, is he? I feel like that's a guy I would always see in Butler Cabin.
I think
he may have passed.
Yeah.
But that's a great way to recruit a coach.
We'll give you but here's the thing. Okay, I don't like my head coaches playing golf all the time. I don't.
Yeah, well, that was an issue with Spurrier when he got to Washington. He's like, wait, I can't golf all the time?
Well, that was the thing about Sean Payton. He would only look at cities and teams where he could golf a lot. And I guess in Denver, I thought it snows a lot there, but apparently it's good golf weather. Like, he wouldn't look at any team where he could golf. I'm like, that's not a red flag that the dude is already thinking about golf?
Case Keenum, my buddy, took basically a $3 million pay cut to go to Denver because the courses were open early in the spring.
I think it's like the high altitude, the thin air. Your drives probably are just massive off the tee.
That must be it. Also, generally, I sense that pro athletes care 25 times more about their golf game than the outcome of the actual football game. Like, after a football loss, like, fans are depressed and crying. You go in the locker room, like, hey, so when are we getting out there?
Yeah, 36 holes tomorrow.
Yeah. 36 holes.
Tuesday off day. Hit the course.
They do. Like, have you ever noticed that? The passion for golf, because they're probably all really good, too.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
So apparently it's hard to get a list of all the members of Augusta National.
Yeah.
It is crazy exclusive.
Very
and I don't
hush
think
hush.
being a celebrity alone is enough.
No.
I'm seeing something here from 2015. So this is almost 10 years ago. I don't know how much the list would change from 10 years.
Any famous people?
Oh, there's definitely famous people, but I think it's not just about your name.
Let's see. As far as the sports category, again, this was from 10 years ago. Lou Holtz, Goodell.
Well, South Carolina, yeah.
Goodell.
Yeah.
Pat Battle from IMG. Lynn Swann.
Yeah, Republican candidate out of Pennsylvania. I wonder if that played into it.
Yeah. Those are just some of the sports people. As far as like the CEOs and, I mean, every big company, whatever you think. Bill Gates, William Morris, all that stuff.
How are they doing on diversity down there?
Well, that was always, yeah.
That
Surely
is always,
you jest.
Yeah.
Oh, buddy.
There are 3 women who now belong
question.
there.
3 women? That was
like
a rhetorical question, by the
basically
way.
the 3 most accomplished women in the world, So, yeah.
Yeah, this doesn't have names, but this is from April of this year. About 300 members at any given time. Membership given strictly by invitation only. Membership cannot be bought, and there is no application process.
You got to be invited.
It's like a secret society.
Yeah, what are the handshake?
This report says there were no black members until 1990, no women until 2012.
I believe Condoleezza Rice is a member.
She's
there.
a member.
Did you just say that?
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, she hinted
I
at
was
it,
reading this
Ginny
story.
Rometty, Condoleezza Rice, and Darla Moore, the 3 women. According to this again this is from almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Oh, boy.
Good luck getting in. I wonder if there's got to be like a black sheep, because I know the high standard, but like there's got to be one Tommy boy in here. Maybe a
Probably.
couple.
I don't know. Don't think there are a lot of Jewish people wandering around that golf course anytime soon.
I don't think so.
No, probably not.
Well, no, that's their thing.
Get the membership. It's hard enough to get a pass to go to the Masters.
Oh, yeah,
the
to
lottery,
cover the
I
tournament.
mean, not even even just like if you go to get a grounds pass or whatever they call it down. Excuse me, the patrons.
The patrons, sure.
I mean, I've known people that every year of their adult life they've entered that lottery and never sniffed even a practice round. So it's tricky. Let's do a little more from Brian Flores here, responding to Tua Tagovailoa's comments about him and his time as Dolphins head coach, referring to Flores as a terrible human being who made him feel like he didn't belong in the NFL. Flores yesterday choosing his words, we'll say carefully in certain spots.
Look, I've done a lot of reflecting and on this situation, and reflecting on the situation, communication.
Hello.
I think there's things that I could do better. For sure. And I've grown in that way. And I've tried to apply the things that I could do better and the things that I've learned.
Didn't really get into specifics, kind of kept it generic and general there, just kind of hinting at some things. Regarding the terrible person reference, though.
Do I feel like, that's me? No. But, how can I grow from that situation and create a world where that's not, the case that anyone says that about Brian Flores.
The third person reference. It's always awkward for me.
Yeah.
It just never sits right.
Also, you're doing this sort of a bit of a mea culpa because you got called out here. Maybe not a mea culpa because he's not really admitting that he did anything wrong. But you're kind of trying to get people back on your side here. And I thought he did a good job, but I don't know. I couldn't really tell if he really was feeling a lot of remorse. Or if it was like, oh, I'm sorry this became public.
Yes.
But listen, I have a standard, and I'm holding people to it. And if Tua doesn't like it, doesn't like it. I don't know.
Well, I think this kind of coaching probably works much better on defense. It'll be good as a defensive coordinator. I mean, I think this is like a new NFL rivalry we didn't expect. Now we get to watch the 2 of them this year. I don't think there's high expectations for Minnesota. It's going to be tough because they're in that crazy division right now. And I'm not sure people are so high on the Dolphins either. So I'm kind of curious. Like, I'm now into this Flores-Tua war.
Yeah, how
Count
long
me in.
before, like, when Tua throws 2 picks and, like, would he have done that with Flores? Spoiler, he did, but...
Yeah, or if Brian Flores gets torched by Jordan Love, they're like, well, Tua was right.
Every week's going to be a referendum on this
We should have
spat.
a chart.
We should keep track here. The power rankings, but it's only 2 people, Tua and Brian Flores.
I like that, actually.
Forget the power rankings of all 32 NFL teams or all however many college football teams.
Well, you
just
actually
these 2 guys.
You said yesterday, Maggie, and I think you were definitely onto something that Tua kind of ended the chances of Brian Flores getting a head coaching job. Brian Flores is 43, but owners are very invested in their quarterbacks. They cost $55 million a year now.
Yeah.
Do you still think that a day later, or do you think that was enough to start some sort of reclamation project for Flores?
No, I think Tua buried him. And I think that it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for him. Now, listen, you're right. He's, 43? Guys do get second chances. He's got a couple other things going against him. I don't know about the lawsuit he has against the NFL. Might be going against him a bit, although he has had interviews since then. And I think the Belichick assistant stuff takes a while to wear off, He's got to get in with a different tree.
Well, he got into, Tomlin brought him back into coaching.
That's true.
Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. I think he probably has some friends there. It's all depends on what happens on the field. I think if he's a great coach for a long time, everybody gets second chances. Coaches always get second chances. I mean, college coaches get fourth and fifth chance. Bobby Petrino will get chances till the end of time. I just think that it's a little too early to say nothing could happen here. And you know what? Call me a sap. Maybe Brian Flores will grow from this.
Well, but how many defensive coaches are getting hired too?
Well,
like out of every cycle, we usually get between 6 and 8 openings, and 2 of them are defensive guys.
Well, Antonio Pierce in Vegas seems like a player's coach. He's defense. We watched the Eberflus last night in Chicago.
The new Seahawks coach is D, right?
Yeah. Mike McDonald.
So you're right. That's the thing. And also this speaks to defensive coaches are hard on players.
Yeah.
You don't want that. You
Raheem
want
Morris.
Yeah, you want Kevin O'Connell.
He's done both, actually. But
that's
more,
true.
More, I think.
Most recently, the defensive.
Yeah.
Right. The opposite is Kevin O'Connell, who looks like he basically, every time you see behind-the-scenes footage, hugs the quarterback on every possession. I don't know. I'm not sure. At a certain point, the league might zag and go back to the old school. Who knows?
Either of you fantasy football people?
Oh, yes, and I'm already deep into draft preparation.
All right, very good. So, we've seen in recent years there have been some creative ways people, the loser will have to do something sort of ridiculous.
Right.
But this was a cool one revolving around a MLB team that actually has to do with the draft order.
Okay.
So the Oakland A's, who have, I will say, played better since the All-Star break, but they're not going anywhere. They're 18 games under 500, and in about 5 weeks or so, they're going to be done with the Oakland Coliseum, right? They're going to be going to, Sacramento next year? So they're going to be saying goodbye to the place that they've called home for 54 years. So the players figured, let's find a way to rope that into our fantasy football draft. So I don't know if this was yesterday or 2 days ago. They went up to that tarped off area of the Coliseum, and they were throwing baseballs onto the field to a TheraBand, very small target, I think out in the outfield grass. And whoever was the closest was determining the draft order for their fantasy draft. So you were the closest, you get the number one. Very creative. There was some footage of it. They were all jacked up. You would never know they were 18 games under 500 heading towards missing another postseason. Guys were celebrating big time.
Well, this is actually something to play for.
Right. But that was kind of cool. Way up top there in the upper deck's 20,000 feet or 20,000 seats that they haven't used in 5 years.
I say 20,000 feet. They're dropped from an airplane.
Right. Yeah. Well, up there it might feel like 20,000 feet.
Do the pitchers have an advantage with accuracy?
That's a good point.
Shortstops.
I believe the guy who won was a relief pitcher. So maybe there is something to that a little bit.
I feel like relief pitchers probably dominate the fantasy football league because they're just sitting back there.
A lot of time on their hands.
Just sitting back there.
Or starters. You pitch once every 5 days.
Right.
Yeah, but you are busy with golf, to be fair. Go full
if you are
circle here.
Smoltz, Maddox, those guys had to get 36 holes in every day.
That's funny.
Have you guys, my favorite punishment for the fantasy football loser, I think the most creative one was a couple years ago, some random dudes did this where a guy had to sit in a Waffle House for 24 hours. And for every waffle he ate, you took an hour off. So the punishment is you got to be there for 24 hours. But for every waffle you eat, 1 hour goes away.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like that. I mean, over the course of that much time, I mean, think if at each meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you banged out 3. You shave off 9 hours. That's not bad.
I could eat 24 waffles in 15 minutes.
There you go.
Perloff also talks so big with all this stuff. Anytime we do anything about eating, he's like, I could eat 4 cheesesteaks in 25 minutes. It's
how big are these waffles?
You choke.
The Waffle House waffle,
They're kind of
got to be large.
It's like a plate.
No, they're thin, though.
It's a whole plate.
But they're not thick Belgian waffles. They're thinner waffles.
I like this because it's a slow burn. I think by 8 hours, you're out of there, right? I mean, you have time.
It's still 8 hours in a Waffle House. That's an extremely long amount of time to be at a restaurant.
It's also very dangerous.
Well, they didn't say what time.
But are you
That's true.
Are you tempted to order some other stuff too? Like, oh man, I'm at Waffle House. I love some of that sausage.
You can't waste any of the
I
stomach
don't
space.
know. You'd be sitting there. You see other people ordering some delicious stuff. You would get a little bacon in there.
No, I got it. Everything has to be focused on the
Towards
waffle.
the waffle, yeah.
I saw one yesterday where a guy had a caddy for his friends.
that too, yeah.
And he was dressed up as a Masters caddy.
Yeah, full
and
Augusta National caddy regalia.
And his friend, that was pretty funny.
Wait, I'm going to bring in 24 waffles. Here's the thing. You always say this stuff. I could do this. I could eat this. I could totally eat this.
I'm not eating that kind of carbs, Maggie. Not unless I lose a bet.
Yeah, right. No,
if it was
carbs.
healthier, if you get whole wheat waffles.
I just punched you in the stomach. You're flat as a board there.
By the way, cheesesteaks, definitely. Cheesesteaks they're the most delicious food in the world. I've never eaten a cheesesteak and say, man, I don't want more cheesesteak. And you know what I mean? Cheesesteaks are they're like an aphrodisiac for a person from Philadelphia. They are the greatest thing. One cheesesteak begets another cheesesteak.
I'll tell you, they certainly ain't no aphrodisiac. Nobody thinks I just had 3 cheesesteaks. I want to bow chicka bow wow now. You are wrong, sir.
You're not from South Philly, Maggie. You don't know how it works.
Those chicks are crazy.
Yeah.
Good
Basically.
grief. That's a lot of, what's that, provolone?
And
no way.
Nothing gets a woman more in the mood than a special with whiz and an Eagles chant. That's how you woo a woman in Philadelphia,
yeah,
Maggie.
maybe from Delco.
Yeah, maybe wearing a Brian Dawkins jersey and nothing else. Oh, a Delco? You kidding me? That's like James
Brian Dawkins
Bond
jersey
moves.
and nothing else. You guys are weird.
Yeah.
Wait, Pearl, I had an important question. I saw this
I don't know where
across
you're
the
going.
internet.
Yeah.
It came across the internet yesterday, and you as a Philly guy need to know if this is true. Is Swiss cheese on a Philly cheesesteak a faux pas?
Yeah, it was a presidential candidate. Said the JD Vance.
It was JD Vance. I was trying not to get.
Was he kidding?
But
no.
He eats a cheesesteak with Swiss?
No, he asked if you could put Swiss cheese on it.
He asked for Swiss cheese.
Have you ever? I mean, do you have any? The one thing every politician does in Philadelphia is order cheesesteak. It's gone back since Benjamin Franklin was there. I mean, it is gone. And the fact that he asked that he had to be kidding. I've been thinking about this. He was joking, right?
So, but you're kind of trolling people, aren't you?
Yeah.
To even ask. You got to do the whiz wit, right?
Yeah.
Just do it the regular way.
There's an episode of the show West Wing, which was about a fake president, where they talk long and hard about how to order a cheesesteak when he's running for office.
Yeah, you can't mess this stuff up.
Yeah, it's a one thing. It's like you kiss babies, you eat a cheesesteak. You don't ask for Swiss cheese. And by the way, who would want Swiss cheese on a cheesesteak?
Gross. That's bad.
I wouldn't want
bad
Swiss
form.
cheese on anything myself. Not a Swiss guy.
You know what I think an actual real controversy about cheesesteaks? Have you ever had cheesesteaks outside of Philadelphia, like in New York or?
Yes.
They're fine, and people outside of Philadelphia say you can't get a good cheesesteak in Denver. It's not that hard to make. I'm not going to lie to you. It's still pretty delicious no matter where you get it.
I think that way sometimes about pizza. I've had some of the best pizza of my life. Colorado. In the mountains of Colorado.
Oh, okay.
Like, I think you can, there's some cities you can't do this stuff because the water's bad, like Washington, D.C. and other places you literally cannot get a good slice of pizza, but you can get pizza
What does
everywhere.
that mean, the
You get
water's-
bagels everywhere.
I thought people made that up. The water's bad. You can't make pizza. What's wrong with the water?
They don't treat
bad.
it the
It's
right
just
way.
Something in this New York area that, but the pizza and the bagels.
It's all
New
the
York, New
chemicals.
Jersey. Yeah, right. It's not. It's not necessarily a good thing about the water. It just works out nicely
It's
for
all
the
that
pizza.
fluoride.
And the,
Whatever they're putting in.
bagels.
I don't buy it. I think that's that's an urban myth. I think
No,
if
you can get good buffalo wings outside of Buffalo.
Right, definitely.
You can do this stuff. It exists. It's
Can you get good sushi in Nebraska where there's not an ocean anywhere near you?
How about going to Indianapolis and going the most famous thing on the menu at that St. Elmo's is shrimp cocktail. There's not an ocean for 3,000 miles.
Fair. That's why they have such crazy spicy sauce for the shrimp because to mask how old it is.
Huh.
Yeah, you're right. Like you should be ordering beef in Indianapolis. It's
Right.
a lot of cattle around.
That too.
So yeah, I mean, I'm a big eat locally guy, but I think you can get good pizza in Denver. It's just a myth.
Definitely.
Can I borrow some of your metabolism? I mean, all I'm hearing is I could eat 24
This dude.
waffles, cheesesteaks, this, that, and the other thing.
I
and
don't generally eat 24 waffles, Hilo. Because I do my homework and I don't finish last in the fantasy draft. I thought you were going to give me an HN update. What do you got for me? And we'll talk in the break. You're on top of these things.
Perloff has a secret, though, of how he stays so slim.
What's that?
Well, you have two secrets. You exercise a lot. People know that. Dude will not eat sugar.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing.
Him and Lane Kiffin.
It's
Yeah,
like
right.
it's
Got
like
Lane
a drug.
Jr. over here.
It's like a drug because once you have some sugar, you want more sugar, right? And Maggie, I know this. CeeLo, you might not know this. I'm sitting next to a hardcore junkie to my right.
I'll raise my hand.
First year of the show, she'd be looking at me and thinking about Swedish Fish.
I was putting down a box of Sour Patch Kids a show, and I had to quit cold turkey.
Have you ever fallen off the wagon?
I've had like a couple pieces of chocolate and some stuff like that, but I've not gone back to the Sour Patch Kids.
A couple pieces of, like, you're not allowed to eat.
No. I've had the cookies. No. I'm eating sweets, but the Sour Patch Kids and the Swedish Fish and the candy, he can tell you, I was like a child. I was in Willy Wonka's factory. It was bad.
Yeah.
Anyway.
She's actually not making that up at all.
I was like incorporating into my social media. It was a part of my life. It's like an appendage.
So he's bettered you in that way.
Oh, man.
By the way,
I guess
you never really put on weight. That's because you were tweaking so hard.
But all sugar diet. Yeah. Okay. 855-212-4227. Lots more to do, including we check in with the most fascinating quarterback in the league. Do that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. 1 minute remaining.
Oh!
45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back. Talking about college football and the best traditions. That's our great debate for today. We're week 0. It's right here. It's upon us. Sean is our pal in Oregon. Sean, what's the best college football tradition?
One of my favorite traditions, I don't know if it's the best, but it's when Oklahoma and Texas play at the Cotton Bowl.
Yep.
And then they split the tickets up 50-50. I think that's a great tradition. I love it. And it's really sad to see a lot of these rivalries go to the wayside. I mean, we got the Civil War here. It's nothing no more.
Really?
Real
I thought
sad.
this was still one of the most fierce rivalries, the Civil War.
Well, we're not even in the same conference no more.
Well, now,
it used
yes.
to be the last game of the year. Now it's one of the first meaningless games of the year anymore. And it's nothing no more.
I mean, it's just such a shame what happened to the Pac-12. I mean,
Right. I mean, it's just a disaster all around.
Definitely. I mean, horrible leadership, all the miscues and missteps that
Yeah.
happen along the way. It's just, it is a
and
shame.
you guys, I want to say the best marching band out there is Grambling State Marching Band.
Yes, a lot of the HBCUs, the historically black colleges, have incredible marching bands, dance teams. Sean, thank you so much. I want to just look up Oregon's schedule. And
They do. Yeah, Sean's right. They have Oregon State week 3 for
that
them.
is so weird.
Oh, but by the way, Maggie, we were talking last night on the phone about this.
Yeah.
They got Boise State. Oh boy, there's some controversy there. That's week 2 for Oregon. That's gonna be a tough game. But our guy Malachi Nelson didn't win the job.
I found that very surprising. EJ, you did too.
This was stunning to me.
Shocking.
Because you know how much money in NIL Malachi Nelson probably got to go to Boise State. Like, I'm wondering personally.
You sure?
Oh, 5-star recruit going to Boise State. He got paid.
Yeah,
and
but
I'm wondering. The head coach has had to have heard from the NIL collectives or the booster saying what just happened, because all the optimism about Boise State coming into the season, outside of Boise at least, was definitely the fact that they had gotten this big time recruit that, whatever happened at USC didn't work out, but there was excitement that he would get to Boise and become a star. Now he can't even beat out a guy who was a 2-star recruit.
Yeah.
I mean, that's stunning.
Maddox Madsen is the redshirt sophomore who beat out Malachi Nelson. And I picked Boise State was my snub who got left out of the preseason top 25 because I was like, well, Malachi Nelson is going to be awesome. And he was a 5-star coming out of high school. And he sat at USC and is out the Lincoln Riley tutelage. And now he's going to go to Boise and he's going to light the world on fire and
But there was
be a backup.
Every report about USC was bad about him. I mean, he couldn't win the backup job. Like, there was nothing good came out of USC. So I think his price tag went way down, EJ. I understand what you're saying.
But they can't take the money back.
Well, I don't know that I haven't seen that report that he got a ton of money to go to Boise State. I think people were down on him. Also, too, he's so skinny, and he's still skinny. I'm not sure why he was the number 1 recruit in his class, because it was a really good class. What was that, 2023? There was a lot of superstars. He lost to Miller Moss at USC, who was not much of a recruit either.
I know, but look how good Moss looked in their bowl game.
Still being said, I'm not sure what. Yeah, I like it. The coach is doing the smart thing. Just because you have that high school 5-star doesn't mean anything come practice time.
Man, you're right about that. I forgot.
I'm just.
Yeah.
I mean,
sorry,
how
I'm
much
just
he-
reading.
Yeah.
I mean, he was apparently represented by Nicole Lynn, I believe, who's with Clutch Sports,
Mhm.
and it was her as his NIL agent, along with his manager and him that got him to Boise.
Yeah.
So
It's going to be some phone calls there. But anyway, I'm still high on Boise. I still think they could be the group of 5 to make it to the college football playoff. Okay, coming up, lots more to do, including could there be a reunion in the mix? Get to that next.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Maggie and Perloff on the Infinity Sports Network.
So much going on today. We've got week 0 upon us in college football. We have Brian Flores responding to Tua Tagovailoa's very critical comments. So much happening, Perloff, but I know there was a story that caught your eye that you wanted to talk about because of how ridiculous it sounded coming from one of sports' biggest stars.
So Anthony Edwards, Minnesota Timberwolves, Olympic gold medalist, awesome player, entertaining guy, really funny. He said something that really made me mad.
Yeah.
He didn't weigh in on Jordan versus LeBron, but he said, yes, and I quote, Michael Jordan had skill, but no one else back then had any skill.
Back then, the 90s?
I guess he's talking about Jordan's 90s.
Oh,
Jordan played from, 85 or 84 through 2000. The irony of this is like, dude, do you not have YouTube? Isn't that how everybody... I thought young people today knew their sports history because they saw YouTube highlights. Anthony Edwards apparently has no idea because he has it exactly opposite. All they had back then was skill. Yeah. Nowadays, these guys, nobody back then could have covered Anthony Edwards because he could jump over them. I think the funny thing, too, I think Jordan was more physical than skill at first. Anyway, he could fly. That helped him, too. So the irony is that there were so many skilled guys back then. I think the league is more physical. Well, it was beefier back then, but I think that the skill level was higher than maybe today. So I think he has it totally backwards.
Yeah, I mean, I got to be honest. I think this is like, there is this... I don't say like fetishization. There's something, this like worship of Michael Jordan goes beyond like any other athlete that we have. I think even put the Muhammad Ali's in and put others who are these icons, something about the Jordan thing has gone, I think it's gone too far. And I wasn't sure if that was possible, but everything about Jordan is just so mythologized that young people today aren't getting, like, they're coming up with that's a ridiculous opinion to have if you're Anthony Edwards. First of all, you've met a lot of guys, I'm sure, who played in Jordan's era, and you clearly have no idea what their games were like. Okay, that's not a crime. But everything about Jordan, and I'm not saying he hasn't earned it, I'm just saying what's happening. Everything about this guy's career has been taken to a level that is not, it stretches reality. So Jordan was an amazing winner and was the best player in the league and all of those things and the greatest player ever. Sure, he missed shots. He didn't always go to the finals. He lost in the first round of playoff series. He was a jerk to his teammates, and even that is mythologized to be like he was the greatest teammate ever because he punched Steve Kerr in the face. See, I think there's something we've gone a little... I think if it's at all possible, I think we've gone over the edge here with Jordan to the fact that Anthony Edwards thinks he was the only player with skill in the 90s. That's just not right. I blame us.
I don't know what happened.
I blame Gatorade and Nike and The Last Dance and
people with eyeballs who actually can see basketball and watch how awesome. First of all, the quote had nothing to do with Michael Jordan. Ironically, to bring it to Jordan shows your obsession with the LeBron.
No, he said didn't MJ was the first one?
Yeah, but he said I didn't watch it back in the day, so I can speak on it. They say it was tougher back then than it is now, but I don't think that anybody had skill back then. Jordan was the only one that really had skill. You know what I mean? So that's why when they saw Kobe Bryant, they're like, "Oh my God." But now everybody has skill. This is Jordan's a throwaway line in there. They're talking about how back then nobody was good, and now guys saw Kobe and everyone is so much more skilled. This wasn't saying Jordan was some freak. He's just saying Jordan had skill, but generally no one else did. So this is not about the cult of Michael. Well, this is not about the cult of Michael Jordan. This is saying like that nobody knew how to play until Kobe arrived on the scene.
And that's patently false.
Right. But the Jordan, you call it Jordan fetishization. Jordan was awesome, though. I'm not sure.
Jordan is
I don't
awesome.
understand what you're talking about. Like, because he was.
It's almost like basketball didn't exist outside of Michael Jordan. And even this made you mad because.
I made mad because, like, I was thinking about, like, people bring up Isaiah Thomas and Larry Bird. Like, Larry Bird obviously had skill. What the heck is he talking about? Magic Johnson had skill. But he was just saying Jordan as a throwaway line there. That wasn't about Jordan at all. To take that take and say Jordan is overrated.
No, it's not overrated. I just think
You just said he was overrated.
No. He deserves
You said we went
all
too
the
far.
accolades, but every part of him has been mythologized to the point where people will not even acknowledge that he came back with the Wizards, right? Like that didn't exist. That doesn't exist for some people because it's slightly embarrassing for Jordan. So we can't even acknowledge it like it never even happened. So like that's to the point where you're just lying now. Like now you're just like you're whitewashing part of the actual truth of his career to create something that is even more mythic than it needs to be. Jordan's accomplishments on their own warranted GOAT status, mythological status. It doesn't need to be helped like he was the only person who had skill, like he was playing against air in the finals or something. Or that he had no competition, no pushback, nothing. Like that's just not true.
EJ,
and you know that's not true.
Okay, but EJ, did Maggie just in so many words say Michael Jordan was overrated, or was I totally imagining that entire take there?
I think where there's a disconnect, because I see it very clearly, is I think the problem with Ant-Man's take, Maggie, is this take is not meant to make Jordan look good. The whole take is that he played against plumbers. That's what he's trying to say. He's like,
yeah, that's not true either.
Right, but I do actually agree with your point. That I do think that in some ways, like the way we've mythologized Jordan definitely has put him on a pedestal. But I think this is not supposed to be positive from Ant-Man. This is supposed to be like, hey, like the guys that are playing now are much better. Like when Jordan played, he was great, but he really didn't play against anybody. I think that is the young generation's explanation for why we think he's so great. They're trying to say, well, you guys think he's so great, but really those other guys weren't that good. Like that's the only explanation for why you guys talk about how he was able to walk on air, why he was able to do all these incredible things.
So he's kind of going with the J.J. Redick, like the John Havlicek was playing against the plumbers and the firemen. So I think that Jordan, it's like no one else existed for these guys except for Jordan. That's the only like touch point that they have, and I think that's partly our fault because we've reduced the NBA during his era to being about one person.
Right. So just so we're clear, this Anthony Edwards quote from the Wall Street Journal was very much about Anthony Edwards comparing to older players. He mentioned Jordan, had nothing at all to do with Jordan.
Oh,
He was
that's the way I took it.
He was saying that people keep saying to me that back in the day guys were tougher, but I don't think they were tougher. I think right now guys are tougher. He said Jordan had skill, but nobody else was good. So, but he was talking about himself. He was definitely not talking about Michael Jordan. It was a profile of how Anthony Edwards is awesome. I don't think he was thinking about Michael Jordan. And by the way, the way you guys, I think maybe Michael Jordan is underrated. Like, I don't think you understand.
Impossible. That's impossible.
I don't think you guys understand what he did to people. It was crazy. We still haven't seen. I'm not sure you do. I honestly don't think you do.
We definitely do.
I don't think you understand what it was like to try to cover Michael Jordan back in 1990.
I know. I think we know exactly. It was impossible. It was impossible. And I'm not underrating him at all.
It sounds like you are.
No. I think what's kind of sad is that the whole league gets reduced to there was just Michael Jordan and a bunch of nobodies. And like Charles Barkley wasn't a nobody, and Hakeem Olajuwon wasn't a nobody, and Isaiah Thomas and Larry Bird weren't nobodies. And to me, like, there's a reason young people like Anthony Edwards might think that way. And who do you blame? You're blaming Edwards? Okay, maybe you blame him. But I think it's also on us because, like, there's a reason why it's, it can be Jordan and everyone else, But to young people, I think it's Jordan and no one else. And that's not true. And you know that's not true because we were all watching.
It's 100% true in the 90s. I mean, it was Jordan was on a different plane than everybody else.
Okay, but so there were no other good players. Hakeem Olajuwon was not a good player.
They were great players. But again, like, just to say that, like, oh, we're mythologizing Michael Jordan makes it sound like it was false. Mythology means you're taking something and you're turning it into hyperbole or something that was fake.
I do think there's some things about Jordan, in my opinion, that are a little silly. Like him being a jerk to teammates.
Who cares?
Gets turned into.
What does that have to do with what we saw on the court?
He's the ultimate teammate because he was cutting people down and he was taking them out and he was punching people and like that's something to be admired. I don't see it that way.
I care 0.0%.
You
I'm
might
talking
not,
about basketball play.
That's
I'm
part
talking
of
about
his story. That's part of the Jordan story. It definitely is. Just like it's part of Kobe's.
Well, I mean, okay, that's great. But, man, like, he could go left. He could go right. He could dunk on you. He could hit a jumper. He was amazing. Then on defense, when he shut you down, it was insane to watch. It was.
Nobody's arguing
I'm talking about
that.
what I saw on the court. I don't care that he punched Steve Kerr. And Steve Kerr loves talking about that. None of that is important. Like, the point is Jordan was as dominant as we say. We're not mythologizing that at all.
I didn't say we were mythologizing the basketball. I did say it seemed like he never missed a shot. But the basketball, I'm not mythologizing. I said he is a champion. He is a winner. He is above all else. That's not it. But it's to say it's him and no one else, I think, is doing a disservice. And the other stuff, the off the court stuff, is definitely mythologized. His gambling, the being out all night.
Yeah,
and then
love it.
Like that stuff.
That makes it even cooler when he was winning NBA. I mean, his greatest game is a sick game where someone poisoned his pizza is what he claims. He was clearly out gambling. And the fact that he did all that, then went out there and scored 40-something, yes.
In Atlantic
Give me
City
more.
And then dropped 55 on the Knicks the next day.
Yeah. Like, that's awesome. I don't know. I do think people, I don't think people even understand. I mean, maybe this might be me nostalgia. I just don't think people totally understand how good he was. It's kind of hard unless you were there.
Everyone understands.
I don't think they do. I don't think you understand.
I do.
Really don't. I don't think people saw young Jordan either and saw, like, when he first came in the league, he didn't even win, but how vertical he was compared to the rest of the NBA, it was bananas.
EJ, what do you think?
But that's the one thing, too, I wanted to say, and that's the two things I have a lot of problem with Anthony Edwards, but I'll try to trim it down here. Number one, Perloff, first thing he mentions is Michael Jordan, be able to leap out the gym.
Yeah, he was.
Jordan got into the league, and we didn't marvel his skill.
Yeah.
We marvel how athletic he was.
Well, but he had this little
very good skill.
But he could do this little flip behind he would jump in, turn his back, and do this little flip. That move. Do you remember that move?
No, of course. But
so he had certain skills. I know what you mean.
He's a very skilled player. But like when Jordan enters the league in 1984, we're not saying this is the most skilled player in the NBA. We're saying Bernard King, Larry Bird, Alex. There's so many other guys when you're talking about skill.
Yeah.
You're not saying Michael Jordan. You're saying, wow, this guy can jump over people. He's an alien. So he didn't even come in as the most skilled player when he came into the league. Number two, Anthony Edwards, there's guys that played before Michael Jordan. That to me is the more offensive thing. I don't really care too much about the 90s thing because this is so ridiculous. But to say someone like Pistol Pete didn't have skill or Earl Monroe didn't have skill is ludicrous to me. Like, these are guys who literally invented moves, invented
EJ,
things.
So we all know this, right? We know, like, nobody, I don't think, is sitting up here and being like, Anthony Edwards is totally right about this. Like, we all know as sports fans that he's wrong. So where I'm asking and where I'm trying to, I don't know if it's assign blame or try to figure it out, is whose fault is it? Is it?
I think some of it is just a young generation, though. I think you're right to a certain degree that it is some of it our fault. But, Maggie, at a certain point, I think these young players always want to call everyone else casuals.
Right.
They're casuals. They're also casuals. They don't know anything about the history of the sport. They always say stuff about the 80s, 90s, 70s, 60s. They always are wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you can't keep yelling at everybody saying we don't know anything about the game. And to some degree, they are true. We don't know how tough it is to do what they do. But you can't say that and also say this nonsense about what happened before you played.
Well,
you also look like a casual.
To defend Anthony Edwards, he was born in 2001. He was 7 when Paul Pierce won of the.
That's crazy.
So, like, you say, do you think he's heard of Earl Monroe? I don't even think he's heard of Gary Payton. You got to push it back 30 years, EJ.
The funny part of it is I feel like actually the NBA when I felt like I did a good job of celebrating the history of the league. I thought they used to. The Hardwood Classics. I'm watching Dan Patrick and Isaiah Thomas going back over through Game 6. Like that was on after school in my house.
I don't think the ratings are super high on NBA TV today.
Hardwood Classics. They should go back through it. And I guess I think that we're partly and I'm putting myself in it too, are partly to blame for nothing ever existed except for Michael Jordan.
Well,
and I think that is, I don't know if it's a disservice or if it's fine or whatever, but there is this idea that it was him and nobody else, not him and everyone else.
I read this, I've also heard there are young players who don't even know Michael Jordan was really a player. They think he's a shoe guy. I'm dead serious. The amount of ignorance about the earlier generations, young people just do not care.
Yeah,
and these people are young.
I remember covering high school and kids would wear 23. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh, big Jordan fan? No, LeBron.
I was always shocked. LeBron wore 6 in part because of Dr. J. I was like, wow, LeBron knew Dr. J and also Bill Russell. But he was a huge Dr. J fan. I bet you kids today were like, Doctor who? What are you talking about?
They spelled his name wrong in Philly. Remember on the Jumbotron, they spelled Irving wrong.
Well, yeah, that's forgivable. Dr. J. I was like, how'd they spell Dr. J wrong?
J-A-Y.
It's 3 letters.
But I don't know. I feel like you're dipping into that LeBron Jordan. I felt like the other flip side of Jordan's mythologized is LeBron is under mythologized.
Oh,
Trust me.
Just wait till we get the 20-part documentary about LeBron.
I can't wait till LeBron wins his 7th ring, and then 8 years from now, Ace Bailey wins his 2nd title. Everyone's like, Ace Bailey's better than LeBron, and you're pulling your hair out. That's how I feel with Jordan. I'm telling you, this is generational, and there is a trend where the younger basketball players really I don't think you have to go back to Earl Monroe. I think you could go back to. They'd be like Tayshaun Prince they've never heard of.
Oh my gosh.
He was 3 years old when that Pistons team won the title. It feels like it was yesterday, but Anthony Edwards is young. So I'm going to give him a pass on that, but obviously he's 23. Anthony Edwards feels like he's been in our life a long time. He's 23 years old.
It's nothing. 855-212-4227. All right, so we dipped a little into basketball there. We go back to football next. I don't know if this is a bad omen for the Cowboys. I don't think it's good, though. We'll get to that in just a moment. It's Maggie and Perloff.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. 2 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining.
Oh!
15 seconds. Break ends. 5 seconds.
All right, you know what that music means. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Cowboys quickie time. Are you about to tell us, Maggie, that CeeDee Lamb signed? Dak Prescott signed? What good news coming out of Cowboys camp?
Nope. The team hotel caught on fire.
Oh, okay.
Thankfully, everyone is okay. No one was hurt. It was contained to one building in Oxnard, California, where they do their training camp. Fire department was called. Everything's okay, but you believe in omens. Well, the team hotel catching on fire is a good one before the... I mean, a dumpster could have caught on fire. Maybe it would have been a little too on the nose, but yeah. This is a team hotel, catches on fire, catch the fever, 2024 Dallas Cowboys.
So as I understand this hotel, it's ranch style. It's spread out. So it's not like a big building where they were on the 20th floor. It's actually, it looks like heaven on earth to be in Cowboys. I understand why they choose Oxnard. They got this little, it feels like summer camp there. Yeah. I like the way they do it.
Obviously, fires in California never a laughing matter, but this one was contained.
This was contained.
And it's the Cowboys.
Even so, I only think it, like, they were practicing, like, it wasn't going to put the whole team out of their room. So I don't think this is a big disruption. I think, actually, Maggie, the pendulum is swinging. Really? I think for some reason, there was so much negativity on the Cowboys over the last couple of weeks. Once preseason games started going and they started playing a little bit, I felt like everybody calmed down. I feel like I'm sensing
Watching Trey Lance highlights?
I'm sensing some calm in Cowboys Nation. I don't know what it is, but like I feel like because the offseason's been bad. There's no way around it. I mean, it's been nothing but negativity. But now that they're actually on the field and they have these rookie linemen kicking butt and they're playing games, you're like, oh, okay, they're pretty much the same team as they always are. That they feel like the same, right? I mean, what's really different?
That's your Cowboy quickie.
Except the hotel's on fire.
The hotel caught on fire.
Yeah, and
but
I feel like
fine.
I don't know. I've been listening to a lot of NFL preseason predictions, and everyone's like, Yeah, it hasn't been a great offseason, but it's kind of the same team as last year. It really kind of is, which is not great necessarily because they can't win a darn playoff game.
Well, can I go a step further?
Yeah.
If you are looking at, we talked before about who has more pressure to win this year, the 49ers or the Cowboys, and specifically Kyle Shanahan or Mike McCarthy. You could say having guys in a contract year, generally they play well. Maybe you're going to get the best out of McCarthy. It's a little different for coaches, but maybe you're getting the best out of Dak Prescott. I don't know. Like having guys in contract years is not maybe the worst thing when it comes to motivation. I'm not worried about either of these guys and their motivation, but as long as it doesn't hang over the season, like for McCarthy, they would lose 2 games in a row. He's going to get questions about his job status, but Jerry Jones will not pay you to not work. He will not. He's shown us throughout the years, like even with Jason Garrett, he kept Garrett around, even though he was clearly fired, I think, till he worked till every day till the end of his contract.
Well, the thing is, Dak Prescott, like quarterback contract year, every year is a huge referendum on Dak Prescott. Last year was the biggest. Last year he was we came in that year, like he came off that big interception season. Remember, he had 13 picks. And last year, I think his whole legacy was on the line and he fixed everything. I don't feel like he's under pressure. CeeDee Lamb's not playing in a contract year. Like, can we agree on that? He's either signing or he's not there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just feel like, again, I always say, like, we overhype free agency. We overhype these contract negotiations. Matt Mosley, the Cowboys insider, was on yesterday. He said, the 1 year, the 1 year ever that anyone held out on Jerry Emmitt Smith, 2 games, they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so anyway,
it was a long time ago.
I feel like this has been a good week for the Cowboys. For some reason, everyone's saying CD's on the brink of signing. I'm thinking I'm going to
We've been
do
hearing
it.
that.
I'm going to do it.
Really?
I'm picking them to win the NFC East. I could tell you right now.
You're hedging. That's an emotional hedge against the Eagles.
They've been 12-5 3 years in a row, and nothing real has changed. Just a bunch of negotiations in the public.
If anything, they're getting some guys back.
Yeah, they get
Trey
Trayvon
Diggs
Diggs back. Yeah. I just think, is it an emotional hedging? Is anybody excited about the Eagles? Eagles have more question marks than anybody. Look at their coaching staff.
Very boomer bust for the Eagles. I said Nick Sirianni, first coach fired.
Yeah, we're not exactly talking about the 70s Steelers or the Eagles. Nick Sirianni's their head coach, Maggie. This is not the hottest take in the world.
Yeah, they added a lot, though, this offseason.
We'll
there
see.
you go. Is the Cowboys team hotel catching on fire a bad omen? Good thing everyone is safe. Chris Lopresti has updates for us and headlines. What's going on?
So we've kind of emptied the clip on Brian Flores and Aaron Rodgers at this point. Nothing fresh to play for you from those two. But I can tell you that Pete Carroll surfaced yesterday on Seattle radio, his first comments to the local media since he had that farewell press conference at Seahawks headquarters. That's back in January now. So he's not sure if he's going to return to coaching at any point, but he is returning to USC in the spring as a teacher.
Really?
But he would not reveal the specifics. I don't know if that's like a USC thing or whatever, but he wouldn't get into what type of course he's going to be teaching, but that is happening, evidently.
What are the options?
Yeah,
Is he like doing intro to Arabic?
I
How
don't
talented
know.
is this
The
guy?
fact that he wouldn't reveal now has me more intrigued. Now I kind of want to know what it's going to be.
Yeah, he's like,
gum chewing
on
101.
I have to say like
white tennis shoes.
or just something about like bio-organic chemistry or something.
I don't know. But
what was his
I kinda
major
wanna
in
know now.
college? Let's
That's a
go
great
back
question.
into the
Rocks for jocks?
I assume it's sports management. It's probably the most basic
Leadership.
thing.
Nah.
Did they
Something
have
like
that
that.
back?
Sports management.
he was,
No. I'm saying he probably is teaching sports
You
management.
can't be teaching sports management.
You could. There's a lot. At my college, there was a football player, Perry Williams. He coached sports management.
There you
So it's something to do.
It'd be awesome if it was out of nowhere. It was like the philosophy of knowledge, or just like intro to law. Something totally out of
Ethics.
left field. Yeah, business ethics.
earned his
you know
Bachelor's
what?
of Science in Business Administration in 1973. There you go.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely a leadership course. You nailed it. There's no way. He's not doing sports management, like how to negotiate a deal. What does he know about that? That's John Schneider's class. Pete Carroll
How to coach
talks.
Marshawn Lynch.
Pete Carroll talks that talk, too. He's going to get up there and lecture you on what a leader does.
It would be like the power of positivity.
Oh,
something like
heck
that.
yeah.
Which I'd love to take.
Pete Carroll, yeah.
He wrote a book. He was doing some kind of creative writing class.
I don't know. We'll have to stay tuned on that. So you'll recall when he whatever you want to call it, stepped down, stepped aside, or they removed him. They was moving into the advisory role. So the story that wrote up his appearance on the Seattle radio station from yesterday said that according to a source that was only nominally, and that he's had nothing to do with the Seahawks at all in the advisory role, and he's been keeping his distance from the team. Apparently, he's been doing some advising for some other clubs. Another thing he wouldn't specify, but he just said that they're not football teams. So we've got him advising non-football clubs, and he's going to teach a mystery class at USC in the spring.
Maybe it's about mysteries.
Perhaps it is.
Wait, he's advising other teams that are not football?
Says he's been advising for, quote, some other clubs, and it said he wouldn't specify which ones, but he did clarify they are not football teams.
Scrabble club? Like what? Is it a chess club? Okay.
No idea.
Cool.
Maybe that's the leadership thing again.
Do you remember we hung out with, he's partners with Michael Gervais, who's the sort of a self-help guru. I know they do work together. But did you meet him at the Super Bowl? He was one booth over. Best friends with Sully.
Who isn't?
Yeah, so
Love
Michael
you,
Gervais,
Sully.
Trevor Moawad, he's I'm not sure what you're describing, but I think they're business partners. So they've always worked together in doing sort of a self-help. Actually, that's not the right word. They do inspirational leadership. I think they own a business together too. So I'm sure it's something like that.
All right. Very good. Notable baseball from last night. A former Met helping his current team beat his old team.
McCann drives this left field and deep, way back there, and that baby is long gone. Into the second deck. James McCann, he comes back to Queens, and he delivers a 2-run shot.
Orioles radio as McCann drove in 3 on the night. Wasn't really any good for the Mets, but he was good enough for the Orioles last night to help them even that series with the Mets in New York as they won it 9-5. Meantime, you had the same final score in another borough of New York City as the Guardians outlasted the Yankees in 12 innings. Longest game of the season in the big leagues in terms of innings. Cleveland with a 6 spot in the top of the 12th to blow it open, including a bases-clearing triple from David Fry, who said it felt like a playoff game between division leaders.
Yeah, I think so, especially against a team like that, an atmosphere like tonight. It just shows what kind of team we have. I think we played our guards ball, had some chaos going, and got the excitement in the dugout going. It was a lot of fun.
When I heard this earlier, I actually had to play it 3 times. I was
Guards
like, what
ball?
did he say? And then I remembered, oh, right, they're the Guardians now. Like, that still has not set in for me. Guards
Guards baseball.
Which I had not heard that terminology, but I guess that's a thing in
Is
Cleveland.
guard short for Guardians?
That's what else would it be?
Do you need a Pete Carroll course for that one?
Guards ball.
I don't know.
I don't know why that became a thing. I'm sure they weren't saying we played Indians ball back in the day, like guards ball.
Right, like because if someone says, "Oh, the guards," you're immediately like, "Oh, you mean the Cleveland Guardians? Get out of here!" What do you mean, the interior linemen in the NFL?
Yeah,
there's no way. No one has ever called them the guards, right?
I think they're trying to start
they do
something
there in Cleveland.
Something out like they need a nickname because Guardians, a nickname on the nickname, because Guardians is still growing on me.
You can't say guards.
We're shortening Guardians.
Yeah.
Like
You can't
sometimes
say
the
guards.
Yankees goes Yanks. What else is there? Like the O's for the Orioles.
Yeah, exactly.
The guards.
But it's already a sports term. You can't.
Yeah, I
say.
don't like it. I just
No, it doesn't work
interpreting
at all. Not 0%.
That's why I had to play it 3 times, and I was like, what is he saying? Oh, Guardians. Got it. Okay. West Coast action. The Padres stay hot.
Swinging a drive into left. This one's way back, and it is gone. Jurickson Profar strikes again. A go-ahead 3-run home run in the 8th inning. It's 6-5 San Diego.
Padres radio, the Pods. They would go Pods sometimes, right? Profar and Manny Machado, each with their 20th homers in that one as the Padres went on to beat the Twins 7-5. And then lastly, up the coast of California, a similar late innings development.
He swings and hits a deep drive to right. This ball is gone. It's a home run. A 3-run pinch hit home run for Jason Hayward. And the Dodgers lead it 6-3. Oh, how do you like that? J.A. comes up big time.
Dodgers radio 8th inning held up as the difference in their 6-3 home win over the Mariners. So interesting as we head down the home stretch of the regular season. You got the Dodgers still playing good baseball. They got Mookie Betts and Max Muncy back. The Padres are the best team in baseball since the All-Star break. And the reigning NL champion Diamondbacks are right in the mix as well. So you got 3 teams out of that division playing good baseball here as we head towards the postseason. College basketball, how about that? 2009, John Calipari arrived in Lexington, a hero February 1st, 2025, he might be returning as a villain. He'll make his return to Rupp Arena when Arkansas faces Kentucky as the SEC men's basketball schedule was released yesterday.
Yeah, bummer about this. February 1st, we're kind of like really in Super Bowl mode at that point, aren't we? We're like AFC, NFC championship games. I hope this doesn't get lost because that's a big deal.
It's better.
Maybe it's in that week in between.
In between.
I'm going to check on that.
It's a lot better than November. I mean, college basketball is really lost in the middle of the season. Yeah, I think February 1st is a good time. You're starting to say, oh, wait a second, the tournament's coming up. Like, who watches college basketball when all the games are on? I don't think anyone, right?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a big deal. I think there's going to be a lot of feelings here. I'm excited about it.
Really?
It is in that week, by the way.
Oh, what's
Sunday, January 26th is Championship Sunday.
Okay.
So
we'll have college football, though.
Yeah.
Do we know about the college football playoff schedule?
College football
you'll
on
be done.
February 1st?
We'll be done, right?
Yeah.
By 3 weeks.
New Year's Day, right?
I don't know.
Or in that.
No, I mean, it's like the
National
Final Four
Championship's
is
the
New Year's Day. And
right.
like the next thing is like the 8th.
Yeah. So that's probably why, maybe that's why they put it in there, figuring that'll be a good
little downtime.
Yeah.
It should get it to do.
Drop it in there between AFC, NFC title game and then the Super Bowl week.
Yeah, you're right. I was way off. Monday, January 20th is the
National
championship game.
Oh, did they push that back?
Oh, right, because it's the expanded, right. It's the
Oh,
expanded.
it's a 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, that of course, guys. That's what I was talking about. I'm like, is this going into February 1st? Like,
Perloff and I are like, what are you talking about? As you and I are forgetting that's an expanded field and that's going to go deeper into the year.
So the first college football playoff games are going to be Friday, December 20th, and it wraps up Monday, January 20th. So we get a month of playoff games.
Okay. So you get the 20th for the national championship, 26th for AFC NFC title game. Then you get February 1st, Kentucky,
Calipari.
Arkansas.
It comes back
there
to
you
Rupp.
go. And then we'll get Super Bowl. What number are we up to coming up? Is it 59?
55?
58? 59? I want to say it might be 59. I'm losing track at this stage.
I don't know.
I think it's 59.
Maybe
I'm off by one. All right, this is an interesting one. Top-ranked tennis player Jannik Sinner tested positive twice for an anabolic steroid back in March, but no suspension. I love this title. The International Tennis Integrity Agency yesterday determined that the banned substance entered his system unintentionally through a massage from his physiotherapist.
It's the Barry Bonds defense.
I mean, well, I guess in this case, they somehow figured out that this is what actually happened. So he tested positive for low levels of clostebol, which I'm not a steroid guy, obviously, can be used for ophthalmological and dermatology use. It's the same drug Fernando Tatis Jr. was suspended from Major League Baseball when he had his big suspension with the Padres. So Sinner tested positive again 8 days later in an out-of-competition sample. So they provisionally suspended him because of the test results. He appealed and won. And they said that the result of contamination from a support team member who had been applying an over-the-counter spray containing clostebol to their own skin to treat a small wound. So they're saying that the massage therapist was treating their own wound and then in massaging him, transferred this like in a dermatology sort of way, and then he tested positive.
How is anyone buying this story?
I'll tell you who's buying it. The International Tennis Integrity Agency, apparently.
What is that, like clown college? What are they doing? This is the most out of bounds, unbelievable story. And we've heard a lot of whoppers when it comes to people explaining why they tested positive, tainted meat, incompetence, blame it on the urine collector. I mean, we've really seen it all. This one stretches the imagination.
Sinner's got a good defense, though. Dude is super skinny. If you're going to juice up, you got to get big. Curls for the girls. I don't know what he's doing. Like, you got to
juice heads.
Yeah, if you're going to submit your body to PEDs, you better do some weightlifting. That dude is skinnier than me. I mean, you see him. Like, I don't buy it. Like, if he's on steroids, he's got to bulk up.
Needs a different varietal because he doesn't have the Mark McGuire kind.
Well, it's something when it ends in ball. Like, those are strength steroids, not endurance steroids, as far as I know. So what's he doing here? I kind of believe him.
This is so silly.
I don't know. I was taking a steroid when I had a certain eye issue that may or may not have been pink eye that I might not have told everybody about.
Yeah, the time you had pink eye and lied about it.
They gave me a steroid.
Was it? It might have been this one.
I think it was. It was a steroid. What was it called?
Well, no, I'm saying it's used for I can't even say that.
Yeah, my doctor
ophthalmology purposes. Clostebol?
I don't know. My doctor said, rub this on your eye. I'm like, yeah. Am I going to get jacked if I rub this on my eye?
Perhaps like steroid?
I'm like, yeah. If I could go back in time, I would have taken PEDs in high school.
For what?
Just so I wasn't a 130-pound twerp.
But do you, so you could play football?
No. Just so I wouldn't be just like, I was 6'3" and weighed 130 pounds. Like, there was nothing good about it. And I look kind of like Jannik Sinner. Like, being skinny in high school stinks, right? I mean, all guys know this. You want to be bigger, muscular.
Okay, but here's the thing. You could have taken that in high school and, you could have boobs now. Like, you wouldn't want it now. Now you'd be like, oh, that was such a waste.
You don't think about that in high school.
I know, but you would have the hindsight of, looking back on it. You still want to do it.
I still would have done it because what do I don't care if I have boobs now. What? I have nothing left to live for. I'm married with 2 kids. Back then, there was still opportunity.
Nothing left to live for. Same guy yesterday was like, I've never said a bad word about my kids, and they're the greatest things ever. But today he's got nothing to live for.
There is no reason for me to care about my personal appearance.
I've got nothing
you're a dad.
left to live for.
That's 2 different things, though. Not caring about your personal appearance, but saying I have nothing left to live for. There's like a wide gap between those 2 things.
When you're 17, you have the world in front of you. When you're 17, the world's in front of you. The world's your oyster.
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, it's like that's a long time ago. So basically, though, you don't relate to this. I thought all guys would be
again, I get the physical
because I know, as a
appearance
matter of
thing.
fact, there are tons and tons of high school kids who do use steroids.
Yeah, they shouldn't, though. It could mess with your growth.
Yeah, I mean, there was an after-school special when I was a kid where Ben Affleck took steroids and had rage attacks. Anybody see this?
No.
Interesting timing, as J-Lo just filed for divorce.
Yeah, I saw that yesterday.
Second anniversary of their wedding.
Actors all do steroids, and we don't complain about that. I think HGH and whatever this drug is are underrated.
Should you take away someone's Oscar if you found out they did steroids for the role?
Yeah.
Can't get in the hall. Take away their star.
You're not serious, are you?
No.
But yeah, I'm being totally serious. I wish I would have been a better athlete. Everything would have been better for young Andrew Perloff.
Amazing. This is we have the power of this microphone, the platform to use it in any way we want to. And for you, it's, I wish I had taken steroids. I know all the bad things that happen, the horrible side effects, the back knee, the boobs, the
head growth.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Your skull's growing.
Yeah.
But you're just like, I wish I did it. Would have been a hit at parties.
I am not a hypocrite. I'm not the one who sits here and watches these 700-foot home runs. I'm like, wow, that guy's been in the gym. I'm not a head in the sand baseball reporter. That is the oldest tradition in the history of the world. The fact
One
that
thing to admire it, it's another to do it.
I'm just saying, that it's still all these baseball insiders are curious about how far the home runs are going this year. Whatever. I am admitting, I wish I had done steroids. There are a lot of I love when the former football players are like, yeah, I did it. We know a bunch of them. They're like, yeah, I did steroids.
Well, yeah, they're not getting kept out of the Hall of Fame and stuff like that.
But the funny thing is, we don't care with football players.
We should probably. It's a way more dangerous sport.
Well, no. I mean, I think people think you need to take steroids to bulk up your body to keep yourself a little safe. You give them a pass. Where baseball, it's pure vanity. And tennis, I'm curious, Maggie, you play tennis at a high level. I always wondered, some of these guys getting older, don't you think that's PED suspicious? Because it's such an endurance sport.
I think every athlete, not every athlete, I think you're doing it.
Yeah.
I think there's motivation in every sport, either to recover from injury, to have endurance, to bulk up. It's just the stuff is too powerful.
Yeah. Golf, I know some guys have got busted in golf. That one is surprising to me.
I mean, look at these golfers now. They don't look like back in the 80s and 90s. Look at Tigers working out with the Navy SEALs.
Many people have speculated, and it's been written about.
Yeah.
And I love Tiger, so I'm not trying to go down that path. But nowadays, you see these guys that are rail thin, like a Justin Thomas.
Well, I mean, Tiger getting muscular could have screwed up his back and his swing.
His body's
I just feel like
deteriorated.
golf, you want to be sort of loose and pliable.
Right.
And, I'm like a big Shane Lowry guy. That guy's not on steroids. He's on Guinness.
You don't have to be bulked up to hit the ball really far in golf, depending on the mechanics of your swing.
Yeah, but then again, maybe Maggie's onto something. Maybe you want to look good. You have to wear those tight shirts like Rory. I'm telling you, Maggie.
I just love Perloff. He's like, if I could take a time machine and go back in high school, the one thing I would do is, we're like waiting. take steroids.
Anabolic steroids.
That was a surprise.
I mean, there are many things. I would invest in Apple. I would bet against your Buffalo Bills in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I have
thank you.
many, many plans with time travel, anabolic steroids. All the money that I won by betting against the Bills.
Yeah. What are you, Biff?
Straight to the gym and hey, give me that brown paper bag with the pills in it.
The almanac. Nice.
Lovely. CeeLo, thank you.
All right, everyone. Take care.
Appreciate that. Coming up, we check in on the most interesting man in football.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining.
Andrew Bogush loves KD, but not just for his 3-point spree. It's the water slide that makes him cheer. Durant splashing down without fear. Kevin Durant on a water slide, laughing all the way, taking a while.
3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
What the is Aaron Rodgers up to today?
Never sure what that guy. Speaking at a press conference, this was yesterday, Rodgers said this Jets camp has been the hardest he's had in years.
I would say the camp is much harder this year and maybe the hardest in the last 7 or 8 of my career. I knew that. I had a little insight coming into camp that's what Robert wanted to do. So I think it's been good for us.
Okay, Rodgers also talking about the joint practices they've been having.
There's a fear among all the staffs on, like, how much can we show? What should we hold back? What are we actually going to run for this session? With Carolina, it wasn't like they did a whole lot. So how much work did we actually get out of that? I think it's good for going against somebody else, but is it actually, making you better than practicing against your own team? I think it's debatable.
Okay, so a little bit of the good, I guess, with the Jets practices being very hard and the training camp being hard, and then a little of the, well, what are we really doing here? If we're practicing against another team, but we're not actually working on anything we're going to really be using in the actual season, what did we get out of it?
Oh, man, I'm nervous. I'm nervous about the Jets, and I'm nervous about Rodgers because I don't know what the best approach is. Our good buddy, Dr. Rock Positano, I was telling you I saw yesterday, he said that he has a lot of, he's a foot and ankle doctor. He said a lot of people who come off Achilles have trouble ever getting confidence again in their Achilles. So when they're live action coming up against Aaron Rodgers, like, will he really trust going off that plant foot again and again and again and running around? I don't know. How do you prepare somebody for that kind of thing?
I don't know. I mean, Rodgers doesn't seem like he lacks for confidence in any part of his life, but I get it.
It's not. That's
not that
that's
confidence.
a totally different
I'm
kind
saying,
of confidence.
even in his body. Like, I don't know if he has that type of mentality. I think that he realizes, like, this is it, right?
No, I don't think that's how. Have you ever had an injury when, like, you step and your foot doesn't feel secure?
No, I know.
I don't think there's anything you can mentally do about that. I feel like he's got a. I totally disagree with that. I think that this could be an issue. Like, I would watch that. I'm not sure he's going to be comfortable moving a lot. I'm not sure I think he's going to play around this injury. It's a huge deal.
And it's not like his offensive line is really great either.
Yeah.
The center's been snapping the ball over his head consistently. He's been trying to scramble and run down these footballs. He's
got to get rid of the ball. I mean, like, that Rodgers used to move around the pocket like crazy and then throw the ball like 70 yards against his body.
Yeah.
I think, like, he can't. He's got to realize he's 40 now. He can't do what he did when he was 28. Just throw it away. Kind of like late career Brady. Brady never started just zipping it down into the ground a lot. I don't know.
Well, Brady started seeing the rush a little bit. That's when, then you got to think, like, all right, the end is definitely near. And we know this for Rodgers. He's not going to play for much longer. I think the other thing, though, about the training camp being hard and how he talked about that, to me, that's purely the head coach knowing he's on the hot seat. Like, he's trying to do everything he can to show how, I don't know, like, serious he's taking this or how different things are going to be this year. Because the other thing he did was he started sitting in on the offensive meetings. Remember that?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's the defensive coach. I'm going to sit in the offensive meetings. I think this is just purely, I'm not saying it's eyewash. I'm just saying he realizes, like, oh, no, If things don't go well, I'm gone.
Yeah, I mean, he won 7 games last year. If he doesn't make the playoffs, actually, like, you're right. Like, that does sound like eyewash in the sense that who cares? None of it matters. This is purely about his final record. If he doesn't make the playoffs, I assume he's out.
Also, who's looking at this team? They've got 99 problems. I don't think anyone's like, wow, that team's not tough. It's like, no, they don't have a quarterback. Like, the team is fine when it comes to toughness. I wouldn't worry about that. In the chat, they're reminding us, do you remember when Rock Positano came on the show and brought his own foot?
Yeah.
That happened live.
That was
foot.
Kendall. We talked about it at length yesterday. She's like, oh, I apologize. I didn't have time to prepare my foot.
What was she going to do? Get a pedicure?
I don't know. No, she's like, yeah, I wasn't having a great foot day. And basically he was supposed to use a plastic model and the model broke. So Rock was like, hey, can I just borrow your foot?
Yeah.
And I thought she did a great job. I thought it looked fine. She said, next time I'll I'll maybe get a manicure. I don't know. What is our pedicure? I thought it looked great. Whatever. I mean, Rex Ryan called in the next segment.
I know. Rex
asked more.
He's our show's his new favorite radio show because of that foot. Little foot fetish. We also have a funny moment that happened earlier in the show today. Speaking of body parts.
Yeah.
You asked me to punch you in the stomach.
Yep.
I did it.
Mm-hmm.
It looked like it hurt. So how are you feeling now? A couple hours later.
No. The stomach actually, if you're prepared for the punch, that does not hurt at all. That's a place where you can get hit.
I've never been punched. I don't know.
You've never had your kids never punch you in the stomach, like?
Well, my kids kind of hit me, and when my brother and I used to like fight a little, but not a real punch.
I don't know. You're pretty good abs. I feel like you could take
I don't want to.
I mean, I'm not gonna do it, but
I don't want to test it. Punch in the stomach? No thanks.
Ryan, you're over there. Have you ever been hit in the stomach?
All the time.
Yeah.
It's
brother, family, everything.
It's a guy thing.
Is it a guy thing?
Women, we don't we don't greet each other that way.
It's a little further down that we are more concerned about. If you had hit me in the man region, then I'd be an octave up right now. We would have had a tough show.
EJ saying our views spiked during that foot segment. Sickos. Thank you, EJ Stewart. Thank you to Ryan Botcher. Thank you to Chris Lopresti, Andrew Kaplan, Guido's Coffee Drinkers.
You're in a 5-minute break.